There's a summer mugginess, and the withers of the horses underneath you are damp from the tall grasses that throng about the King's Road here. And you've ridden past ancient border stones and see the familiar signs of the extent of your father's domain. And as you spy the looming, leafless willow known locally as Harren's Justice, you can see that unlike last time you'd passed it here and left Grayle lands behind, there's a handful of people here, more than half a dozen or so, and no small amount of activity. They're small folk, that's plain to see from this distance. Nothing more than the folk themselves, than a couple of yapping dogs and a mule and cart. North beyond that, you can see the verdant growth beyond obscuring the Red Fork. And further west, you can see the land rise up and know that in those low, lush hills lies Swansong and your home. A couple of the men who have ridden forth will return, one of them bearing your colours atop his banner. Ronald, give a nod of his helmeted head as he hauls up his horse nearby to you. There's a bridle, he says. 8 folk, my lord, seems to be a hanging, and there's a wounded man. They are ours. What do you wish?
Hanging? He pinches the bridge of his nose. So, I mean, technically, Dad should have said this is fine. They can't just hang people, right?
Presumably.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we better investigate just in case. I'll look at the man and roll my eyes a little, and then sort of gesture in that direction. We better go check it out.
They'll fall in escort, and long before you arrive here, the folk will somewhat stop what they're doing, and one by one, like a slow ripple or wending eel, they'll drop to their knees in subservience, bowing low as your retinue is recognised, and some hush goes over them. A hush that's not joined in by a whimpering man who stands on a hewn log, half strung up to the hungry branches of Harren's tree. He's beaten beyond recognition, and there's a great red spiral out from his nethers. It's plain to see.
And I will look around. What's the meaning of this?
You can see folk nervously looking from side to side as they're bowed. Eventually, a burly, tall man will stand up from his bow, muddy-kneed, taking his hat off into his dark, hairy hands. My lord, I am Gellin, if it please, and this man is a raper. I found him with my daughter, and he'll point to a crying, kneeling lady nearby.
And you went to the Lord with this?
No, my lord.
So this man received no trial?
Used to be that soldiers would come riding week to week hereabouts. But those for us have been at work on yonder farm, and so their law has not been provided. And I took it to my own right as a father, lord.
Mm-hmm. He looks around at the other villagers. So he said he saw it, basically. He caught them. Caught this man.
He didn't... Yes.
He'll look to the whimpering man. Did you do it?
No, lord, he simpers and pleads and bubbles through broken lips and teeth.
What happened then?
He mumbles something, and Gellin restrains himself from going to strike at the man. As you nudge your horse closer to him, maybe to hear.
Mm-hmm.
We were together, lord.
Is the girl here?
Yeah, Gellin had gestured to her.
he'll like gesture for her to come. He'll like ride away from the guy and gesture for her to come.
Terrified and distraught at your beckons, though, she'll rise and come forward to where you are seated on Storm.
Does she look like she is saddened in any sort of way? Like, as in, are her tears fear because they've killed the man, or fear of me?
More the former, but like a small amount of the latter, certainly now.
You're not in trouble here. No harm is going to come to you. This man, were you together? Or was it an attack, as your father said?
Is that said as in whispered and leaned down to her, or
Yeah.
like demanded before that?
No, quietly, yeah. I'm trying to make it clear that like she won't be in trouble regardless of what the case is.
His name is Barrett, Lord. He came from across the fork, and he'd visit me and bring me gifts. He said one day he'd take me away to Port Marrow, and that'd be his bride, away from this toil and away from... And she like cast a sidelong glance towards where Gallon beyond is fuming, but not within hearing.
Mm-hmm. And did he harm you?
No.
How old are you?
18 summers, Lord. And Father found us, he and the men, they... And she descends to sobbing. And I said nothing.
You said nothing.
I was mute with fear, Lord.
I understand. It's not your fault. You won't be in trouble. You can relax. He says, and he'll like ride over to Willem and Oscar and Jess. It wasn't as the man says. They were together. A fling of some kind.
Been murdered thusly then?
It's murder. They believe it to be justice, but it's murder. And so we're faced with two choices. One is to agree and say that this man is as they say, or we tell them that without a trial, this is murder, and then there must be punishment. I don't know that that's wise.
I'm sure her father saw what he saw.
He saw what he wanted to see, or what he did not want to see.
Indeed.
That man can't live through that, can he, Oster?
Our laws are absolute, aren't they not?
And the injured man, will he live? Like he's been.
I think it'd be plain to see that untreated, he'll die of those wounds.
Uh-huh. Would he want to live? I mean,
If we can send him to the wall.
We could. I'm loath to put the girl through a trial where she has to speak against her father. That will make her life miserable. I'm loath to punish the man because then she will feel blame for this situation. And a man is already going to die. But laws are laws, and we have them for a reason. They cannot simply kill whoever they choose.
Is it a punishment if the man makes the choice willingly to take the black?
Well, we can force it upon him.
Perhaps a private confession from from his daughter to him.
Should we at least tell these peasants that this is not the way things must be done?
Ronald, what did he say? Why are they taking this into their own hands?
Our soldiers have been busy farming as we decreed. Apparently they haven't been here.
It is important what the small folk think of us, Jess says, leaning in even closer.
What's important is that they do as they're told. They can think what they like. It's useful that they like us. It's essential that they fear us.
But do you not, she corrects herself, and Father, Lord Preston, have a duty to send the men here?
We do, yes. We have a great many men, and that no one was here is surprising to me. We'll have to add a rotation that wanders from village to village every week.
They are busy, I think, in the fields, bringing in the crop that was left there.
It's not many that we would need. We could send 10 on a patrol, make a rotation, and when they get back, they work in the farm, and the next 10 go. We have to punish these people for this. They've murdered a man.
How many people are gathered, like hearing this?
7 are gathered, 1 is half hung and gelded.
So there's no other like hung people, or it's just this one guy?
You would see occasional like white yellow bones that have like mostly got weeds or grasses growing around them, like scattered amongst the great roots of this tree, and maybe the remains of like broken moldy ropes, like moss-covered chains or something from where previous occupants of the tree have been hung up. But this is the sole occupant currently.
Ah, okay.
Have we hung anybody here before?
I would say yes. So it's obviously a tree that's like well designed for it.
Yeah, your father in older days would like order men or like ne'er-do-wells to be hung here. Back in the older days of like House Mud or House of Harren the Black in his line, it was used by the Iron Men to hang people, like to drown them symbolically.
But no one in recent history, like no one from this area. This is like a severe crime that's been unprecedented in this time.
Occasionally there might be, like unsanctioned or unofficial or unlawful hangings on the tree. That would have been more frequent in older ages and now occur maybe once a winter or something. I've heard stories of it. And like no one makes much of a fuss. Like everyone kind of knows that someone's justice.
Like the only justice that there can be is our justice. The only way it gets handed out is by us. That's a vital part of this whole feudal thing. It requires that we're the only people who hand out justice, and that we cannot have small folk deciding to kill people for no reason without a trial.
I agree. Let us not return to the mud.
And the question
And
is,
now
what do
you
we
are
do?
here.
So we send them both to the wall.
Why not bring them both with us to Swansong?
What for? He's already
Leave the
been
father
punished.
here? Hmm.
Oh, you mean the girl?
Yeah. The girl and the man. I see. I take your meaning about the girl blaming herself. So if something should happen to the man,
It seems he has done this because he knew if... I do not think he truly believes that his daughter were taken by force. Surely he knew about their tryst.
Yeah,
Asking for the king's justice would not see the result he wanted, and I'd gesture at the bleeding man.
It's true. If there had been a trial, this information would have come out and he would not have been hanged. Or gelded.
could be said that this murder done here is treason then.
It could be. It is. But what are we going to do? Kill this man as well? Turn the whole village against us?
No.
I think we send them both to the wall. The punished man and the father. And there they can figure out their problems together.
And of the daughter?
We can ask who remains in the farmstead, and if there are enough people there for her to live with, and if not, we'll take her to the castle and she can... And he just shrugs, like, he just believes that there are infinite jobs to the castle, and there probably are. Like, you can always find another place for, like, a servant.
Her life will be much better with us at Swansong. Without a father to protect her, or a lover to marry, she will fall into darker paths, I believe.
Can you save this man, Oster? Or is he doomed to die?
I can examine him. Just have him. He's strung up still. He's not. He's just.
He's not hanging, no, he's like, got the news ready.
He's roped up but not hanged.
Okay.
You said, Nico, that river folk is sort of like, or across the river is like slang for
Across the fork.
across the fork.
Yeah, he's from across the fork. Yeah.
Slang for like criminal.
Yeah, or like questionable, or like non-named or non-landed, or lauded, I should say, non-lauded folk.
And is that like a prejudice that people hold here, or is that like a real thing that we would know of too?
Both.
Okay. Because I think we could question this man about his home, where these ne'er-do-wells are, as well. If we can keep him alive, he might have useful information to us. You know?
Yeah, does he look like a river pirate? Is he like, I don't know, tanned and like really calloused hands?
If you were to like go up and examine him, and if there'd be no one to stop you doing that, you could like confirm those things are evident. Though, like, does he look like his face is unrecognizable? He's been so badly beaten.
Jess leans into Ronald. Why send this man and the father to the wall? What crime has this nearly hanged man committed?
He's probably a criminal or a pirate.
Well, where is his trial, Ronald?
He shrugs, like, that's irrelevant. Like, he shares those prejudices for sure, you know?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
think
questioning of this man would be beneficial.
then let's take him. And he'll say louder, there'll be no hanging today.
There's like the faintest of not grumble, but like exchanged mutters between some of the people who are bowed, but no physical reaction to that other than for Gellin, who like throws his hat down into the mud and his eyes like go wide and white with fury, and he'll like step forward. Say, "My lord, you would deny me this father's right? This man was found. His own crimes with my eyes did I see.
You were lucky.
I swear it on the truth of my years of toil for your father's house.
You were lucky
I
that
served
you
at
are
the
not
trident,
being hanged.
and my brother has died for your house, and you will deny me this?"
You are lucky that you are not being hanged, because you have committed a murder here, or attempted to. There was no trial, no evidence of any kind.
I caught him.
You saw what you believed you wanted to see. Whatever would allow you to do this. And you are lucky that I don't hang you from the tree for taking justice into your own hands, which is not the law of this land. I am the law of this land.
Looks around incredulous, no allies to be found, and it's mixed part anger and fear that you see storming in him now.
Oh, I really should kill this guy for talking to me like that.
It's unprecedented. The rudest
It's fucking unbelievable.
things ever been said to you.
Yeah. Ronald will say, what you've just done is you've insulted me in front of all these people, and you have shouted at me, raised your voice at me, and I'm your lord. It's unacceptable. And so you will get on your knees and you'll beg for your life, and maybe I'll let you live.
He mouths a few unspoken words, and in that time, Yazbeth will plead, Father, kneel, please.
I'll gesture for Ton and Dirk to get up to, move and flank this man.
With
Actually,
mold.
I don't want the thugs involved in this, so I'll put my hand up for them to not approach, because I think that sends a different message. More bullying and less because to Ronald this is divine right, you know.
Yeah, I just nod.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the pleadings of his daughter, and with the threat of your presence and those in your presence, he'll eventually sully his trousers and both knees down into the muck, bow his head to storm. He paws at the black earth, churning it up.
Apologize.
Forgive me, Lord.
He'll hold the silence for a while and look around at the people, and then he'll just turn the horse, and he'll gesture for them to take the man, and he might say to Jess offer the girl sanctuary if she needs it, if she thinks there's going to be trouble at home after this, but he's not going to do any more niceness. He's playing the bad guy, or actually
when the Lord is when the Lord has passed it down the command down to the lower ranks, I will say, be careful with this man, make room on the wagon, he shall ride, he will not walk to Swansong. His wounds are too great for that.
Yeah, the men will ride up and, as gently as they can, take the mauled man and lay him on the wagon and begin to fall in, following the path their lord cuts beyond. And the folk will remain as they are. Yazbeth will not resist against soldiers who compel her up onto a wagon or horse. And Gellin will just remain in the earth, tear-eyed, clenching fists around loamy soil. And the other townsfolk are mute with fear and prostrate as well, while Harren's justice just looms behind them.
So my intent was more that somewhat Jess would ask the girl if she wanted to come with us in case there was danger here, as opposed to grabbing her and shoving her onto the.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? It's up to her if she wants to come or not. But I'm just Ronald's concerned.
She would say to stay then if Jess asked her directly. If that's the case, Keel.
Yeah, while everyone's getting the wagons ready to start moving on again, Jess would go up to her and say, "What's your name?"
Yazbeth.
I'm sorry for the trouble here. Well, I hope now that you may have found your voice a bit stronger, that you may know to speak next time where you have the chance. There's power in your words. You could have maybe helped this go differently before we arrived.
As you say, yes. And she like wrings her hands and cannot hold your gaze. I'll stay with my father, she says to her boots.
You need not. You can come along with us to Swansong. There'll be a bed and work around our walls. You can stay with me.
After much conflict, she nods a few times and then more vigorously. Yes.
She'll smile at that and offer a hand to help the girl up. And what is she wearing? Just like a sort of farm girl's dress.
Yep, functional clothes, but higher like working boots. She'd have like a belt with like some gloves in it and like a small like hat or hood, and like a belt pouch. The crafter's like just a functional knife, and would look already like having been busy with toil today before coming here, and like muddy kneed from the bowing to Ronald.
Yeah. Jess is of an age with this girl, and she notes the sort of practical nature of her garb and the tools in her possession, and yes, feels some kind of odd kindred connection, maybe, or potential connection with this girl, and she's pleased that she agrees to come with them, and she says, If you need to collect anything before you come along, we'll have some short time. I can come with you.
She will purse her lips together and behind you on the horse grip you tighter at that and shake her head, fearful even to look back at Gellin, her father.
That's okay. We'll have more clothes at Swansong for you. We can even get you some trousers if you don't like the dress. She says, sort of gesturing to her own like leather. Well, hers is quite fine traveling gear, fine leathers, her own. But yeah.
Yeah. She whispers genuinely in your ear, "Thank you, my lady," mistaking you for one of noble birth, such as your bearing and conduct, and her unknowing.
You're welcome, Yesbeth. You've done nothing wrong. I look forward to getting to know you more. And just out of character, so we're leaving the father here. We're bringing Yesbeth with us. What are we doing with the man again? We're bringing him too? Yeah, cool.
So is your intent to take Barrett back to Swansong with you and there have Oster save his life such that he can be questioned?
That's my hope, yeah, is that he might know something about if he is a pirate or, involved with the outlaws or whatever, he might know something, and in return for his life, he'll tell us. That would be my plan. And after that, we can send him to the wall or send him back or whatever we want to do.
And would your intent, Jez, be to, once back at Grayle, to see to your, like the companions you had left there and to Yasbeth now, as you'd said to her on the road?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, should introduce her to Haley and Hap, and yeah, try and find a most appropriate place to stay and job to be assigned, basically?
Other than Harren's tree, there's nothing else untoward that happens along your journey back home to the familiar curtains of Swansong. It's there that your retinue will break apart, some to the stables, others to the barracks. Jez off to the stables to find Hal and his children, and Oster to his own lair to begin work on Barrett. Ton and Dirk will see to your things, such as they are, Willem and Ronald, and you'll be greeted by Maester Grubuk and Sir Alric in the yard, in absence of your father and stepmother, and their faces would be grave and merryless. And methodically, Sir Alric will march down. My lords, welcome back to Swansong. Your father awaits you in his chambers, and that would be not fitting, of course, as you know, which would be indicative of his declining condition.
Yeah, Ronald might have expected that to some extent, and will nod and say thank you. We'll go see him immediately.
He nods at that and then just gives you an implacable look, Willem, but you can feel his despising of you beneath it. And Grubuk will shamble in behind them, clinking behind you rhythmically up the stairs towards the Lord's chambers. Inside his chambers, after you pass through the swan guards posted on duty outside, you can see that Janus is there, mournful and saddened look on her face, though you would guess it more for the fate of her child than for the fate of her ailing husband. He's sitting upright, but confined to his bed is Lord Preston, and there's bowls and unguents and salves on small tables nearby to him, and covers that you can see coiled at the bottom around his pale and waning legs. He's finished a grumbling cough as you step in, and you can see that there are new bandages about him with the telltale yellowy red Rorschachs of it that spiral up out of his skin due to his condition. Come in, boys. He'll gesture to where seats have been made, and he will look up through roomy slits of eyes towards you both, caparisoned in your fine travelling gear. Something like a smile over his thin lips comes.
Think I have a wife.
That is good. A Riverlands girl.
Yes.
Good. Drinks. He'll call to Janus, and Grubrook will go to stand forward and protest, but he'll wave the man aside with a weak tilt of his hand, and there's the sound of wine being poured, cups for each of you. Janus will not meet your eyes as she hands the brimming goblets forth to each of you. It's hard to pass the fine-smelling Dornish red with the other pervasive stink of combined urine, sweat, and death.
So no trip to Essos then.
Grubrook tells me I'll be shape soon, and the Grubrook does not share the grim humour. Tell me of the King's Road and of the Red Keep, and he'll take a bit of his wine, spilling a little down his chin like the Red Fork itself. It wends through his beard, and no one moves to deny its course.
I fought in the tourney. I won 3 times. Quite a bit of success. We got to the bottom of any rumours about our house, of which there were many. And we have cleared our name in every way. We came out of it quite well.
And these rumor mongers,
Dealt with.
good. Didn't you, son? Try and stare over Ronald to you, where you are behind a ways a bit, I imagine, Willem.
Yeah, Willem's staying away. He's drinking the wine though. What? Why this intrigue directed at us?
You're a good target for such ploys. Our house can easily be hated for the treachery of our kin at the Battle of the Ruby Ford. And our host is mighty compared to our neighbours, which makes folk jealous. Armed men are always despised thus.
We proved our loyalty to the king.
And to this house.
And we made friends with other houses who were our enemies, they believed.
He'll do something like smiling in between the intermittent winces of pain as you guys regale as much or as little of your tale of the princess named Tawny. And by its end, he'll nod slowly to himself, slink back into the bed, and turn his gaze away from you. You can see visibly he's trying to suppress another surge of hacking coughs. Once he's mastered this, he'll say, "Good, a bloody business, but good. You redeemed our house in the eyes of the court. You've brought back no small bounty. You've made me proud, sons, and served our house well. I'd salute you. Wife, pour my sons their wine, and then make yourself scarce. You two," he says to the two men behind you two, Alric and Grubrook, who will join in Lady Janus after she does as commanded, awkwardly curtsies and leads you 3 Grayles to the chamber. In his wake, your father will painfully gesture to Grubrook. "He has the right of it. I'm dying. Soon you will take my place. Once House Grayle was mighty. Our Swan Knights were the envy of the lists, and our boats traded along the forks of the Trident. Our lands were full, and many lords sent their daughters for the favour of Grayle's sons. I do not think it is our fate to be content with what we have left. Too long have the brigands of Durain's forest plagued our neighbouring trade. Too long have the river pirates of Port Merrill plied the Red Fork with their thievery. Riverthorn sits beyond these places, waiting to be claimed back from the wild. When these lands belong to House Grayle, then we can settle them with the veterans of our campaign. House Page is the gateway to that plan. I know how long that old snake will give us leave of his lands once I am dead, and so we must move swiftly there. Cross the Red Fork into Page lands, clear out the forest and seize Riverthorn. Approach Port Marrow by land and deny them their advantage. We may have to appease our neighbours and concessions of land, and of course Lord Hoster must have his due. But Grayle will double in size and trade, and this glory will go some way to soothing the treason of our kin upon the Trident." And then he can hold it no longer and descends into an awkward, irregular hack and coughs.
Yeah, I'll take his hand, and I'll say, "I'll see that done. I swear it.
He mouths good, which bubbles the spittle gathering at his lips. And his eyes will kind of lance in your direction, Willem, gauge your reaction.
Yeah, Willem, he just sort of nods, bows his head, moves a little closer. It will be done, Lord Father.
After the solemnity, I'll go back and start talking. If he's done, sort of charging us with what he thinks is important. Like, I'll listen intently and agree with the idea of like bringing glory back to House Grayle, and then I'll just try and like make him laugh, or maybe not laugh, but at least enjoy himself and tell stories about where we were, and maybe from like
He asks of like the maidens of the capital and what their fashion and fancy is now, and asks of like the clubs there and whatnot. The old fox.
Yep.
If like when the time comes that you would both go to leave, he would like grip you with a strength that you thought would have already failed his limbs by now, so that you get that non-spoken urge to, oh, I should stay as Willem goes.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll try and demand that with what little strength he has left in his clammy hands.
Yeah. I'll follow you in a minute. I'll say to Willem.
Yeah, Willem will just nod to them both and take his leave.
Would you go to see what Oster or Jess is up to, or some other thing, Willem? When you cannot like bear the room any longer?
Yeah, I guess I'll go to Oster to like find a distraction in his patient and his work.
Okay. Once the door is closed and the footsteps can no longer be heard, your father, with like a reeking death breath, will wheeze after pulling you in close, Ronald. You know the way of things. Now you know what it means to be Lord. Putting those you are charged with protecting in danger. Putting your house before all else. And serving a king who serves himself. Some advice, son, if you'll hear it.
Of course.
Make ripples, not waves. Chase not defeat. And keep your brother close. It may seem now that no bond is as close as a brother's, but your enemies will use him against you, either to hurt you or usurp you.
I understand. We've been working on that already. This trip to King's Landing together, along with Oster and Jess. You can trust family at the very least. It is a snake pit in King's Landing, and that is more and more, I understand, the real war. Very little of it happens on the battlefield.
He nods painfully. There is no peace.
No.
Speaking of snakes, Grubrook says the child, Janus's child, it will die. It will share my affliction, passed by the mother. Untainted, it seems, some cruel mercy. She's a good girl, and though I married her because we need the pages, I trust you to treat her kindly when she's widowed soon.
I will.
There's strength in blood, perhaps. and then he'll look to the window and wave you away. And it's that kind of, he doesn't want you to see him in how he's about to become way. It's almost like an order to retreat from battle or to move away from a contact.
Yeah, I'll go to the door and wait until he's finished, like, coughing and spluttering. And then I'll go back and just squeeze his hand and give him, like, a last look and then head out.
Hal and Hap and Haley and Fish too are happy enough to welcome Yazbeth in at your introduction, and Haley will share some of her garb with her, while Hap will kind of like buzz around curiously. Fish goes a long way to breaking the ice between the family's reception of Yazbeth, and Hal will give a smile and clasp his big hand over your shoulder. It's good to see you, Jess. You can see that though he's smiling and happy at this random event, he's masking some concern, worry, or sadness. You've seen him have it before in the past, being close with these folk.
Thank you. It's so good to be home. What's the matter?
Oh, nothing. All is well enough until take some like meat and vegetable stew and spool it out for his children, and a cooked bone down for Fish, and then some for the guest.
Oh, that smells great. Jess will sit down and like pull a bowl in front of her as well. So what's happened while we've been gone, Master?
The summer has been well enough. The yields have been good. The soldiers have been at the fields and helping reap what's been tilled. That is well enough, for the beasts here are hungry for fodder. After the dinner, he would ask you to help him clean up things, and then outside at his chair, he'll enjoy the sunset where you can hear like the insect symphony of the Red Fork beyond, and he'll fill a pipe with things that he's acquired from the woods. And take a taper from the fire inside where Haley's sharing stories with Yazbeth, with Fish curled up sleeping next to a sleeping Hap.
Yeah, Jess smiles widely, looking in and seeing Yazbeth hitting it off with her friends, or this part of her family, her bastard family, I suppose, or her low-born side of the family. And she smiles all the more broadly outside with Master House, enjoying the sunset. It really is good to be home. Can I have a try of that? She says, gesturing to the pipe.
He'll go to say no, but then realise from his wisdom and by like the look of you that's changed, which tells him that you are an adult now, and he will not complain like he would have in the past, certainly, and hand it over to you, well lit, to his own exhaled smoke cloud. He will say, "Something's been at the Yearling Folds. Something from the west, out of Carnhold. Mountain lion, cat or the like, though I'd not be fool enough to say that to the old swan. For now the trouble's not too bad, but I know the way of it with beasts like this. Once they've a taste for blood," and then he'll like smile as he like go to suppress a cough. And once you've finished coughing, he'll say, "They don't give it up."
Yeah, she's trying exceedingly hard to like be cool and calm and collected about smoking this pipe, and she's struggling not to cough and splutter. She hands it back. Do you need me to maybe take care of this problem?
Yes, I'm warning you.
What if it's just a mountain lion or a cat? Even a family of them. I can take care of that. You know I can.
It seems you have other duties now. Though I would be a liar to say I'd not be glad of the problem being gone. No small thing to be trifled with. There's a reason that they hunted them out in the Westerlands, and this one does not fare horse flesh.
Well, what of the foals? Has this? It's not a crop. She would know the right word. You know, like this generation.
Well, two of the herd.
Has the supply suffered? This generation of foals?
No, two for now that I know of, though I would not be surprised if there were tales from outer hamlets of similar business. Cats of this like roam far from what I've heard.
Hmm. Well, they are territorial too, as am I.
Better that you use your ways to have the lords hear of this, for it to be them who deals with that danger.
She sighs like a little disappointed. She won't say this outwardly, but yeah, she is growing, I guess, increasingly frustrated at her the line that she walks, where she sort of has some privileges, but she can't really make any decisions. She would love to be able to just deal with something on her own. As you say, Master. I'll let my brothers know.
He nods, somewhat relieved, out to the setting sun, which sets the red fork ablaze. Meanwhile, in Oster's lair, Willem, you've arrived as the last of the sutures are being put in and salves being applied to the ruination of Barrett, and he's murmuring in a stupor of some concoction given with him so that the pain doesn't overwhelm him. You're confident, Oster, as you wash your hands in a pinkening basin, that he will live, or at least darkly that he'll live long enough. You can hear the rusty hinges giving up herald to Willem's entrance into your chamber.
Yeah, not turning myself away from the work. I speak. I was Lord Grayle, in a rhetorical, somber fashion, but devoid of sympathy.
He is, as we had expected, as we had feared. Do not think he is will be long in this world. And he takes a sip of the wine that he's still drinking. And has carried through the grounds to here. What of this one? He nods to the table.
In a similar fashion, he will live, for now. But I do not know how long. Hopefully, he will provide us with the information we need. Oh, speaking of that, and I move over to one of my bookcases and pull down a scroll and hand it to you. This is everything I know about Riverthorn.
Will nods and unfurls it, moves into the light to start reading it.
This is your charge, and I will help you as much as I can.
Thank you, Oster.
How did Ronald take the news?
He lingered to discuss something further. not buried in that sick chamber.
More parting advice, I would surmise.
Yes.
I would counsel him to tell Jess. I would hate for her to be caught by surprise of the Lord's death.
I see.
Well, I know it is coming, and she is probably quite aware.
Do not know that she will warn him as much as I.
At this, the man moans and goes to shift his weight on his pallet, and then cries out a sharp shriek, which quickly muddies into a oh.
Yeah,
The sound of boot steps approaching from a corridor beyond.
I look out into the hallway to see who is approaching.
Oh, you'd see then the red cape swirling in the wake of Ronald.
Your brother approaches. I know I've had one of you down here, but both Grayle brothers? Let's see. Yeah, I push the door open to allow his entrance and go back to the man and listen intently to make sure this is not a death rattle.
He would be saying stuff like, I'll pay it, I swear I'll pay it, Pam. You know me, I'm good for it. And other things like, yes, but don't tell your father. Another kind of delusional talk.
If he starts to talk in his, I am quickly ruffle around for a pen or an ink well and a feather to start just jotting random notes down. This guy says anything that he would normally keep at bay during conscious moments.
Yeah, there's the iron tang of blood in here, Ronald, when the door seals you in with your two brothers and this bloodied stranger who's living by the sound of his haggard breath and his murmured words.
He'll live?
For now. Hopefully long enough for us to question him.
Father is near the end. It could be
no trip to Dawn.
Could be any day. No trip to Dawn, I don't think. He did impart a wish that we would bring law to these lands, get rid of these pirates and bandits. And that definitely aligns with what I have in mind. And so I think this man could be worth more to us than we first thought. Even if he knows the approaches to the port, things like that, that information will be invaluable.
Yes. We'll soon find out what he knows. What did he say about House Page?
That those ties are important, but that they probably won't last much longer when he goes. And that we should make the most of them while we still can. Am I right in thinking, Nick, that we have to pass through their lands to get to where we want to go?
Yeah, on the other side of Paleford is Redden, which is the seat of House Page. Mm-hmm. And their land connects to Durane's Forest, which then, on its far edge, is Riverthorn to its north, and to its south, Port Marrel. Though no accurate map exists of that, that information, but roughly. So they both lay further east down the Red Fork from where you guys currently are.
So we would need like military access, basically, in total war terms, to like get through their lands. Yeah. Okay.
Which you have by the marriage.
Yeah.
Currently.
And what
I,
would happen, like, when Preston dies? Would she go back to, like, House Page, or would she stay here?
Usually they'd stay there as widow, or if
Yeah.
noble, let's serve at the Silent Sisters, or uncommonly but not unprecedentedly return to the hold of their father, depending on a lot of different factors.
We would do well to keep her here, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
You know that she's the middle child of Lord Halman Page, Elena being the eldest, whom you met at the capital, and her younger brother, who is the heir to the house, currently serving as squire in Redden Hall.
yeah, at that I give Ronald a wry smile and move around to my desk and sit down. Like moving some papers, a leather-bound book kind of floats to the surface as I open it up midway and drag my hand down to the middle of the page. Elena Page, 29 years old, incisive, languid, and cautious. How do you feel about marrying somebody older than you?
Are you talking about marrying Dad's girlfriend?
They're married, right?
Your sister.
Oh, her sister.
Well, it's our mother-in-law, right?
Yeah, she's our mother-in-law, yeah. No, she's our stepmother.
Oh, yeah, stepmother, right.
Yeah, your stepmother. Yes, your stepmother's sister.
So my step-aunt.
Yep.
Aunt, yes.
Yeah, I think it would be clear from the look of his face that sounds hideous to him. And he's sort of smitten with that girl that he was talking to in King's Landing, because she was like pretty and nice, and also like useful. Like, you know, Tullison is also like near our lands, and he would just sort of like slowly shake his head in a way of like he's not keen on that idea.
I violently closed the book. Okay then. Then more manners that we're accustomed to then, I guess.
Will the bonds between House Grayle and House Page really deteriorate so much with the passing of Lord Preston?
Not if we work on them. These lands are a problem for both of us. These bandits are a problem for both of us, and so maybe if we speak to Lord Page, we can get him to help us and give some of this reclaimed land to them. We'll choose carefully because we'll be providing the bulk of the forces, but nonetheless, if it's a joint effort, it will tie us together some.
Indeed. If only the child were not to be lost.
If that was the case, and that kid was born, would it be Lord before my kids? No, because I'll be the Lord, right?
No, it'd be you, then me, then him,
Okay, yeah.
then...
So they would be at the bottom of the order.
Yeah, but like once you're the Lord, then your line takes over the inheritance of it, yeah.
Does House Page control... We are on between the red and the blue fork, correct? That's where our lands lie. And do they control a bridge, like, to cross the blue fork? Is that... They're north of us?
No,
right?
there are like stones, like rapids that loosely connect between Paleford and Redden Hall. But that bridge was lost. Like the bridge that those remnants were a foundation of, that was lost quite some time ago with the massive flood of the Trident. So usually passage is by like ferry or boat. And to be clear, like your house is on the southern bank of the Red Fork, and they are astride the Red Fork and Blue Fork. The Blue Fork borders Durane's Forest Inn against House Page lands. At this, the man will start. His like murmurs and mutterings will start to coalesce and to be like more coherent, and his like wild, swinging eyes will inevitably gain more focus as your concoctions take their intended effect. And the first sentence of real sense that he's uttered since you gathered him up and saved him is, "Where am I? Where are you?"
I just give Ronald a look.
You are in Swansong. And I'm Lord Ronald Grayle.
It takes the man some while and he's stupid to understand that, and he reacts how you'd expect. He like freezes up and like slinks further into his pallet, and his eyes like focus and begin to dart around nervously.
We have seen you healed. You were unlawfully attacked.
Clutches down at like the bandages there and begins to moan in despair.
I fetch him some water. Let's see if he'll take it to drink.
Yeah, eventually he will take some, spilling much of it.
It's within our power to save your life. And we'd like to do that. But everything has a cost, and so... Where are you from?
He cries, like whimpering, as like water and drool spills from his mouth onto the ground, where his like palms are pressed. "Across the fork, Lord. I traveled between Marrel and the woods. Paid my dues there. I stole nothing from your lands, Lord.
You know these places...
Just that lass's love. I've been there, Lord."
You know the forests?
Like he nods, gulping, tears spill down his eyes at this, knowing it's a confession.
Mm-hmm. You know the routes to the port? You know who's in charge?
I know when to take the eddies and at what tides.
You know how many are there? Who's in charge there?
I could not so, but I say it to the number, Lord. But I know some names who keeps order of sorts there. At the forest I serve Pem. Talia is her name. She and Rugen the Red. It is them who hold sway in the woods, and each pay their coin to either. But Merrill, that is how I came by this bank, and by Yazbeth. Will share at her father's toil by the Red Fork. There is a guard of sorts and a captain and false law there at Fort Marrow. But it is a ruse, Lord. Please kill me, Lord.
No, we won't do that. You know a lot of useful things.
He cries at the horror of like following the thread of those words.
There's no reason that we have to bring harm to you. We wouldn't like to. And so you'll help us in what we're going to do. And in return, we can provide you some shelter here, at least for a time. And if in some time you still want to die, we can kill you. But I think you probably won't want to die. It's a difficult situation you find yourself in. I can't imagine it myself. I imagine it's quite upsetting. But you have to look forward.
He'll like ask you almost demandingly to tell him what he needs to tell you for you to kill him.
Yeah, so he can't really give me the necessary information in this state, I don't think. Like, I want him to be healed and rested so that he can like think, and I want details and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
So imprison him here through his convalescence to question him when he's more lucid.
Yeah, something like that.
Ideally, if he knows all the trails and like how to sail on the river and everything, it'd be good to have him with us.
Exactly. Yep. That's what I'm thinking too. Like we can put him in our service or something. You know, that would be a big fucking up for him. I think. You know. Other options are like we pay him to be a spy. You know, and he can go and find information and come back to us, or not come back to us. Then we just kill him when we kill everybody else. But I think he's like very useful to us, particularly if he's with us. You know, he knows a lot.
Yeah, he just might be difficult to coerce if he wants to die.
I don't think he'll
Can't-
want to die once he's somewhat healed. I think he literally just woke up like 30 seconds ago. And so
True.
I think he's just going, oh God, oh God, oh God, you know? And I think like with some time, he will be able to, you know, find some sort of thing to live for.
He can still love Yazbeth even if he cannot give that love in the same way.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be much comfort for him.
No.
No.
I mean, we do have his girlfriend. I don't know how he feels about her.
Yeah, let's not introduce them to each other for a while.
Yeah.
You get the sense from her she's starstruck with him and believes his tales, and he's just like some dog river pirate from across the fork. Like just says whatever.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's my impression too. I think like she's been manipulated. I don't think this is a good
But it's
man
just
by any
innocent.
stretch, you know? Like, but he's a useful man, so we have to keep him alive because he's so useful to us. Because having even one guy who knows these things will save us potentially like 5 lives, you know, which is absolutely worth it. And it could be more than that, you know, if we know paths through the forest, if we know like how not to like wreck our boats or whatever, like on the approach, or and we don't want to go by boat anyway, we want to go by land, but if we have a vague idea of like who their leaders are, what they look like and stuff like that, we can do a lot, I think.
That being the case, then is your resolve to heal the man as best you can and wait for some time to pass?
That would be my thought, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any information Oster can get out of him is great, you know, potentially.
Do I think he'll try to take his own life? If so, I'll tie
Yeah,
him up.
you think there's a good chance he would. If wrong was wrong, that the man might try and throw himself from the walls or something.
Yeah, so chain him up.
Yeah.
Let's see how bad things can get for Barrett.
Well, let's put a guard in here with him. 2 guards, just in case. So that if he tries to hurt himself, like, they stop that from happening. It's like, yeah, forcing this guy to stay alive even though he wants to die. But, you know, his life is definitely worth, like, our soldiers' lives. You know, his suffering.
There's some hard orders to hear. Don't kill this man who wants to be killed.
Yeah, and don't allow him to kill himself. No matter how much he
Even if you
mules.
pity him.
Yeah.
Grim. Okay. Is there anything anyone wanted to specifically do between now and say 10, 11 o'clock tonight?
Is it morning-ish still? Late morning?
You guys would have arrived like noon or just before noon,
Right.
summer day. I have nothing planned until like late in the evening, so I want to see how you guys might pass that time, if anything's of a significance.
I mean, I think this guy will take up majority of my time, so that's what I'll be doing.
In those hours, he will speak, and you can if you're studious, as you said you were before, with like stylus and parchment, you could write down things that you can question him on, like answers that he will give.
Yeah, like who does he owe? Like he mentioned that. Like, who do you owe?
Yeah, he will tell you that he owes a percentage of everything he grifts to Thalia Pem. That's his boss, as he calls it, or his lady. He says that in like a derisive way. And that she is a rival, but also ally of Rugen the Red. Dugan the Red. That his band and her own inhabit the area around Rugar's Hold, which is an ancient holdfast long ago reclaimed by the Durain's forest, which serves as a haven for those brigands who ply their trade all the way up here to the Red Fork banks and all the way across to the King's Road that cuts up nearby the border of the Riverlands and the Vale.
I might have missed. Why did he say he wanted to end his own life?
Because he's been castrated and beaten to within an inch of his life.
Unconsensually.
All right. Okay.
And is now a prisoner of someone who regards him as a criminal who thinks he has good information. So it's a really, really bad situation for him to be in.
Yeah, I would just tell him that many people go on to live fulfilling lives, even though they have one less member.
In this state, he seems unconvinced.
Fair enough. Time will tell then, I guess.
Yeah, he's, I guess, river pirate by fact that he uses the river to navigate around as come across with some boat or skiff or swimming at some known place to him. But essentially is like a brigand of Dahlia Pems inside Durain's forest. He's just gone far afield in search of presumably tithe to pay her and has found himself a Yazbeth and gelding the hands of her father Gellan.
Could you type his boss in the chat just so?
Yep, I'll post that information for you. Thalia, yep.
Dahlia. Okay.
And so Thalia and Dugan the Red, they're kind of both sort of heads of the bandits, but they don't work together?
Sort of. They do work together, even though they're rivals, obviously.
Okay. But they're not separate clans sort of thing, separate.
No bands of brigands that have swole. So what happened during the War of the Usurper is a lot of the criminals and rustlers and brigands and deserters in Durain's forest sent representatives to the approaching Targaryens to say, we'll join your army at the Trident and then you absolve us. And the Targaryens agreed, and then they got pwned, obviously, as you know. And so those who were left in the vacuum of power, Dugan the Red and Thalia Pem swallowed up everything else to where they hold the duopoly over the brigands of Rugar's Hold, which is an ancient holdfast where they retreat to deep in the woods. So you'd know from that terrain that counters heavy infantry, heavy horse not just straight up really, but the terrain conditions. And though what is presumably a threat, as this man would say, of 200 souls plus, is still quite a tricky nut to tackle militarily because of more of supply and terrain than an actual, because it's not pitched essentially.
Okay.
But he would give up those numbers, 200 plus souls, or an average, an estimate.
How are they supplied? Are they held up with
thievery?
Theft, yeah.
Thievery.
They steal from the King's Road for coin. They raid the western borders of Tullison lands for iron and weapons. They raid the Fork for goods, riverboats and barges and stuff. They rob for the goods they need. And they rob Redden halls surrounding villages for their food. And they fence and get other supply through Port Marrow.
I guess what I'm asking, are they do they have ample supplies in Rugar's Hold, to
He wouldn't
hold
know.
off a siege? He wouldn't know. Okay.
He wouldn't know. Yeah. His operations are more transient, and I think it would be more day to day than season by season preparation level.
We could be pretty confident that we could beat bandits in a fight,
Yep.
We have knights and veterans and stuff, so I think the issue is really that they're in a forest, and that's not very conducive to large army battles.
It's conducive to getting fucking shot from the bushes
and falling into traps and stuff like that. So ideally, what we want to do is approach these. So this is just top of the dome sort of plan. It's approach them and say, listen, what you're doing is a problem, but we will pardon you if you meet with us we can work together and like fix this solution and put you into service if that works. And if they send some people, we just kill them and then we kill the rest of them or whatever, you know. If we can get one of these two people to talk to us, we could also potentially just turn them against the other one. Like, hey, you and your gang, we like you. It's the other guy we don't like. So if you join us and help us kill them, we'll put you in charge of this place when we build a castle here. We'll give you all service or something, you know? Like, I think trying to fight them head on is not going to work because they're in a forest and they're bandits, so they're not going to fight us head on.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's good.
could work. Yeah.
If you put this man Barrett to questioning about Thalia Pem, he'd say that she's pretty ruthless and brutal, and that she reputedly has slain a knight in single combat, and has a disdain for nobility, which sets her in a way in contrast to Dugan the Red, who styles himself as some kind of like bandit lord.
That's our boy.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Listen, mate, like, love what you're doing. Would you like to do it professionally? You know?
Yeah.
Like, great. Like, we will put some boys here and you can, you know, be the castellan of this place. Whatever.
I would ask if they came to blows, who would you side with?
Thalia, of course, he'd say. Else I'd serve Dugan already. He thinks he's better than the men he serves. Pem knows that she's one of us.
He probably is better than the men he serves.
Yeah, well, you know, need them all.
Yeah. Okay.
So Willem's like been sort of perusing this actually relatively large scroll that Oster handed to him, and he's going to like cough some wine out slightly and look to Oster. Oster, what is this plague? Is the forest plagued?
I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've looked at it.
He'll read out some part in here about Riverthorn being an empty place haunted by plague-scarred individuals.
Oh, hearsay. Though we'll find the truth of it when Droman comes. I suggest we hold any activity until then.
We'll have to begin mustering anyway. We want to maybe send a message to this Rugen. We'll want to be gathering men. We need to send a message to the pages. If we're going to pass through their lands with our army, preferably they'll bring some men with them as well. So it's pretty worth considering sending a letter to the Tullisons that I'd like to marry their daughter, and maybe they could join us on this endeavour as well, since they're nearby. Would be a good way to tie all our houses together.
Yes.
I might put the question of plague to our captive here. Have you seen signs of plague in the forest lands at all?
Only at Riverthorn, though. Make our prayers, and Pem has us piss in our cloaks and wear them over our mouths and noses so we don't suffer the fate of those wretches. We press them for coin and protect them from those at Port Marron. Extortionate.
It's still plaguing? Is that not like an old story?
He thinks they are in a superstitious way. People who may show signs of it.
Gotcha.
To someone like him who's highly superstitious, he would think that they certainly are.
Okay. And the story of the plague is like an old story, right?
Some years old, maybe half a decade old.
So it would almost certainly have been plagued out at that stage.
Many neighbouring lords obviously don't think so, because they haven't chanced sending men in to get plague-ridden.
But I mean, so I think, Oster would probably know, but I think most people who are educated would know that plagues don't just last forever. They kill people who have them, and then there's no one left. Right?
Yeah, Grubrook and Oster might know that academically.
Yeah.
Those small folk, I think, still would see
We'll
instances of Yeah, like it's just like some other plague that gets them or something. Yeah, they're like, "What? You said the plague is gone.
Yeah.
It got us."
Yeah.
Well, I
And
mean,
we still say
this
God
guy's
bless you.
someone could just this guy could have been there and seen someone with like a cold or the flu or something and been like,
Yeah,
"Yep,
that's the plague.
this is the fucking place. Those dudes have all got the plague still."
Yep.
And there's the whole myth, or Oster knows, and maybe Willem will come to know that like many think Oral were cursed by the Seven for like choices they'd made, and so that like that religious element like amplifies the superstition of people around stuff like that. Could also be shared by someone, say, making rumor mongering about your own father.
It's probably useful as well if you're bandits to continue spreading the idea that it's plagued.
Yeah, you don't want this fertile land here. This is don't come to get this.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, that would be the plans I would set in motion. One, send a letter to the Tullisons, basically being like, I'd like to marry your daughter, please.
Lord Dunstan Tullison is the Lord of Mountains Reach.
I'll write an
You
actual
can write a letter, yeah.
And then I think we want to write to the pages, just in a sort of like, how's it going? Hope you're well. Dad's on the way out. Let's keep things friendly. We want to go, and I'll write that as well, and I'll send it to you. What's he called?
Sounds good. Lord Halman Page.
Halman, okay. And then I think if we can try and get a message to this Rugen person, I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, me neither.
Unless we try and I don't know. I feel like they're so resistant to the idea of even speaking to us. Is there?
Maybe Jess would come to mind to one of you.
Oh Jesus! I just cannot send you in there. Oh my God! No, I think there's just no way that Ronald would be like, oh yeah, off you go into the bandit keep. No.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's just.
Could we lay a trap from some other men and just?
That's what I was thinking. Or if we can just if this is ostensibly a settlement, like the port, we can send someone there, which is not in the forest and send someone by boat to bring goods, fake trading or whatever, and get the message out that Lord Grayle is seeking to pardon bandits and bring order to this land, and is looking, if we make some grand declaration like that, it might tickle that Rugen guy who fancies himself a lord.
Yeah, do we know river traders that would go to this port that kind of deal in shady business? Do I know anybody like
Yeah,
that?
you probably have a better idea of knowing. Maybe some ferryman or someone that you know at Palesford who connects you to that business interest. Yeah.
One other question would be, do we have to tell Lord Tully about what we're doing?
Yeah, so legally, if all pans out that's true that House Oral are completely destroyed, Riverthorn is unclaimed, it reverts back to the liege of that deed, which would be
Tully.
Oster Tully, who's ill and near infirm, and so really is overseen by
Edmure.
His castellan steward and Edmure, who you guys now have a working relationship with, and it would be protocol to seize that place and then go before him to offer it to him.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then it's his decision to bestow it or to accept it and then give someone else that deed or title.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's weight politically in court which would present that if you've seized all of yourself and by your own coin, and if there's some way to spin it for the benefit of the realm kind of thing, as you'd imagine.
Definitely.
But it's not kind of just you can take it and then it's fine just because you have rule of might. It doesn't apply because all the titles are held by oath back to the liege.
Yeah.
So if the family blood is destroyed, it reverts to the Tullys.
But that's really something that we do after we've taken it, as opposed to beforehand.
Ideally, better to ask forgiveness.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then he might be like, oh, so you think it's ready to be plucked, do you? Sends 300 Tully crossbowmen.
Yeah. See, if we take it, we would assume that we would get some part of it, or
we will.
And if you take it like Ronald proposes, with other houses assisting you, even though it means you have to carve bits of it off, you also have their weight to your argument in court to Tully when you're we present this land that we've all worked together really hard to get for ourselves to you. Can you help us? There's 3 of us. We're powerful now, please. then you might say yes. You might say
And
no.
I think there's probably
And maybe we should cut in Page. House Page, cut them in.
Yeah, I think we'll have to cut in both of them probably, but there's quite a bit of land as I see it. Like it's a whole forest. And,
Riverthorn, Rugar's Hold, and
yeah.
Port Marrow.
Yep, so there's a lot of stuff there.
3 places between 3.
I think like for us, it's the port is the thing we want, right? Like more than anything.
We don't have a port at the
Yeah.
moment, so that'd be good.
That would be super useful in terms of trade. I also think like another like ruined castle would be great. Something by the King's Road, you know, like.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them are good, basically. You know, so
Depends what you need. Yeah.
yeah,
Like Riverthorn's a great like agricultural plot if you imagine it like that. Like it's fertile and arable. And Rutgers Hold is the defensive holdfast and gives you the lumber, and Port Marrow gives you the trade and Trident access. Like they're all rad in a way.
yes. I think like what we need least is another castle. In terms of we have quite a good castle and we have excellent military. We don't need more defense. What we need is more money. And I think that's, you know, either of the other two do that quite well. Like the arable land or the port, you know?
Okay. So before we end it, later on that night, maybe you've just put your things down, washed yourself, and are now tending to your own needs. Oster, and probably even have laid down to bed already and like pulling out the last candles when there's approaching footsteps. They're light footfalls, like someone trying to be quiet. Probably put you on alert for a moment before there's a familiar knock and pattern you recognise to be Wex. And now you can hear his heavy breathing of the lad from the other side of the barred door.
I kind of roll my eyes and push the dagger back fully into its sheath before rising to get the door.
Sorry I'm late, sir. We'd heard word in Paleford before sunset that you had returned. I figured you'd wish to see me. I've remembered my report, sir. Catching his breath. Dutiful.
Yes, have you written it down as I taught you?
I've tried. Yes, until reach for a strip of white cloth and begin unfurling it where some of the chalk markings is made of smudged, but true to his word.
Excellent. Yeah, I set it aside and take the full of it by his voice.
He'll then go through a litany, as has been told, of things and points of interest of the significance that you might be interested in. He knows of who's flinging with this person and who's had a bad catch here. It's generally like a gossip and circumstance. He will mention that a body was seen by someone floating down the Red Fork through the rapids and then to disappear beyond. And that yesterday he heard the ferryman upon return say there's a wounded crow in the rookery of Redden Hall. Then he goes on to say the next kind of piece of inane information when he stops seeing that you're ruminating on that.
Yeah, I ask if there's anything pertaining to our current intrigue. Riverthorn or Durn's Forest, Port Merrill.
Well, those places are east-northeast, sir. That's where they say this crow fled from. Trickled through with brigand arrows, they say, and like to die.
Interesting. Was the message recovered?
Message, sir?
Oh. Never mind. Yes, I will have more for you in the morning. Stay, get supper, get rest, and we'll speak tomorrow.
He'll nod thankfully, relax his shoulders and step in and go to reach for some food and drink, and then see that there's a man with bandages and who's chained to the wall, and there's probably a Grayle guard in the shadows. This is kind of woken up from where it kind of leaned up against the wall.
Yeah, I give him a look like this is normal.
He'll nod, more tentative this time, but nothing will stop Weck from free food and drink, and take to it and give you more to think on before you can find sleep. And by wounded crow, to be clear, the man means a brother of the Night's Watch, not a messenger raven.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Sorry. That's where I was going with that. I apologize. Excellent. Okay. Ooh, that's not good. Yeah, I'll think about that and think if my mind drifts to Droman, and if he was caught where he shouldn't have been. So do we have the body? Can it be, is that?
The body that was washed down the Red Fork days back,
Yeah, or is it?
it
No,
would just
it's lost.
disappeared. It wouldn't be too uncommon a thing, I imagine.
And that was the crow, right?
No, that was a different event many
A different
days
event?
before the crow.
Do we
And
have the
that body, if
crow?
it washed down shore, would have come from the west to the east, not from the east to the west, which is what Weck heard that the crow came. He came from Durain's Forest to House Pale, which is coming from the east to the west.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
I think that's where we'll take a bio break and gather our thoughts and then reconvene.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I'll write a letter then to Tullison, and then I'll just go and speak with what's his name, Halmond Page.
Lord Page.
I mean, they might have information too, because they're very close
Yeah.
to. They're like right on the edge of the forest, really.
So as you guys are making preparations through that day, and you've been made aware, Jess, that you'll be called away as soon as you've kind of set back routes here. You've taken the brief hours between when you finished your morning duties and when your retinue is timed to leave to make your way to the sept within the safe high grey curtains of Swansong. Gabrielle's about her business there, tending to the sept, but will like smile and welcome you in, putting aside the broom and cleaning cloths, and walk with you up to the seven-figured shrine. She would ask after your health and after Hal and the children, and then finally ask what she might do for you, child.
And yeah, Jess rolled her eyes internally, as she always does when Scepter Gabriel smiles at her, like that sarcastic kind of eye roll, with the little sort of rivalry, I suppose, the relationship that her and Scepter Gabriel have. The Scepter always trying to get her to wear dresses instead of trousers, and stop going off and getting dirty and exploring and things like that. But as she asks after her health and the health of the Hal and that, she says I'm well enough, and nothing gets their spirits down. It is good to be home. I wanted to speak with you, Scepter. The journey to the capital. I feel certain things happened on the journey, and in the line of my duty to my brothers and my house, and all in service to the gods then, is it not?
Yes, in a way it is by their design.
She is visibly relieved a little bit by that, as she sort of, as the pair of them sort of kneel down before the representations of the seven. Well, I thought upon your lessons many times while I was away, and I know I've not always been the easiest student, and for that I do apologize in my way. And she's kind of scrambling for words, and the Scepter probably hasn't seen her with this demeanor before. She's usually quite defiant, always in front of her. And so sort of the Scepter seeing her shaken would be something quite out of character.
Yeah, she's momentarily disarmed by the behaviour, but will quickly like readopt like the pose of a confessional scepter.
I think I know my place well enough, Scepter, in the eyes of the gods and in my house and in the world. But being a bastard is something you can give me advice on and insight, but it's something that you've not lived yourself. And so I'm not sure if you can understand what I'm trying to say here. She just bites her tongue, I think, and just closes her eyes and lowers her head.
Speak, child. Unburden yourself.
She looks over her shoulder and looks up to the warrior and thinks, I will be brave. And then looks to the mother and says, will you promise the mother's mercy when I tell you this?
The mother's mercy is limitless, and foremost for those who wish for absolution for their sins.
I have killed men.
Her eyes widen and she takes a while to collect her face, obviously not believing beforehand or thinking beforehand that that would be part of your duties to the house. And you can see her wondering if she sits across from a murderer. By command or in sin? She'll ask after a time.
The pause is probably longer than the scepter would have hoped for, but the response comes by command. In duty to my house.
Gods ordain crowns, ordain lords who have our oaths. I am sure the mother will be merciful.
Thank you, Scepter. It feels good to share this burden.
What you feel of yourself in your heart is the father's judgment, she'll say with a smile, intending for that to be reassuring, not realizing that it was probably poisonous ink of worry.
Yeah, her face, Jess's face would sort of contort a bit at that. Yeah, she's doesn't hate herself, not necessarily, but yeah, she doesn't feel clean and good about the things she's done, and especially the way that she's done them. But then maybe seeing that on her face, the scepter would sort of correct, maybe, and like say she meant that in a the father will judge justly, and what you've done is, you know, in duty and service to your house. So yeah, Jess would believe again a bit at that. I feel more of the stranger watching over me than before I left for the capital. But I do still see the light of the crone's lantern as I walk this path. I feel I'm told that I am going with my brothers to across the fork. I do not know how long I will be, but if I get a chance while I'm over there, may I write you, Scepter?
Of course, child. Of course.
Now I think the silence would just stretch on from there.
Yeah, it goes on for some time. It's not broken until Fish takes up one of his peculiarities, which is that he barks incessantly when men go about armed in the yard and mount up on their horses before the portcullis. It's almost like he's warning men against the violence they endure themselves to go out to do, or that he's nervous by the horse's nerves or what it is. But without fail, he'll set to barking as this happens, which will tell you that your brothers and their men are beginning to coalesce in the yard. And sure enough, as confirmation, you can hear Hell yelling at the beast, berating him. Eventually he'll stop, but not before he gives another final bark of protest, of warning to the men who mount up at the gatehouse, or in the shadow of the gatehouse.
Yeah, she would politely dismiss herself and give a sincere a very sincere thanks to the scepter. Again, probably to a quizzical look, or to a sort of tilt of the head for how out of character Jess seems to be acting to the scepter. Certainly things have changed her, and she'll go off to join the preparations.
And by the time you get there, you can see pages and squires among them. Dale Page move up, assisting the warriors. Willem, Ronald, and Oster amongst them to mount their beasts, and packs are set upon like pack beasts, and a few grey, grim swan men mounting up, their ringmail shining, and their red shields bright across their backs. The horses too, like a nervous as Fish was. And as you approach, you can begin to hear like the grinding chains winching, setting ready to put up the portcullis and down the drawbridge, which leads out towards duty.
I would send Wex to find somebody that travels between Swansong and Port Merrill, someone that's can be plied with coin, and that we may be able to send a message there that the Lord, or spread rumors that the Lord is willing to pardon those.
He'll try his best to set to that task, and you can leave men to guard Barrett if you wish.
Most certainly.
So without any other affair, you guys can pour out across the drawbridge from Swansong down through the fields towards Paleford, and then to the barges, which will carry you across to the northern shore of the Fork and into the lands of Sir Harren Page. The afternoon has just begun when you ride up inside of the small castle. No Swansong, but a castle by definition, and quite a prize for a knightly house to possess. A pair of white, red, and black riders will thunder down towards you, and once identifying you, will fall in and give escort swiftly through the humble villages like the satellite around Reddenhall, and then into its walls to be met by the old knight and his young squire son, and the servants of the household, which includes an old, weaselly-looking, bald, spotted maester who wait in attendance at the stairs that look down to the courtyard. As you ride in, servants and pages will come to take your horses and gear, and the warriors that sport the spiraled snakes of this house will stand to attention at the call of a sergeant as your noble retinue steps forward. That old, portly Sir Halman will step down the steps. He's got a long pointed nose and bright green eyes despite his age, and his smile is toothy, and he'll speak at a loud whisper. Good afternoon, my lords. Welcome to my holdfast. Allow me to introduce my son, Hallard. And the lad will step forward. Welcome. And he'll gesture and give a toothy smile again that you should come up. And he'll give the slightest of bows to you two specifically.
Well met, and thank you for the welcome. Aaron will say, and get off the horse and intend to follow.
He'll step in with you and say, "How fares my son-in-law, your father?"
He is unwell.
Our Septon prays for him, as do we all. Keep him in our thoughts.
It's very kind of you.
And my daughter, how fares she?
She is well. Apart from being heartbroken that my father is ill.
I am sure, he'll say, turning a corner with stonework past snake-filled tapestries. I am told your house fared well at the Prince's tourney. That is well. My daughter Elena is down there still, hoping for some success in marital matters.
Indeed, yes. Did rather well. Had 3 wins in the tourney.
He smiles, stopping for a moment, probably remembering fondly his own time in the lists. It was in that place that Lord Tully gave my ancestors our deed in current glory. He'll continue walking.
It's a sacred place, the tourney, I think. The tourney ground and the roar of the crowd. Something spiritual about it.
The truth of the will of steel.
Quite so.
Tell me, my boy, what brings you here?
We have big plans, Lord Page. Big plans, and you are our allies and friends, and we want to include you in them.
Well, speak of these plans, if you wish me to know them.
Our lands, and by our lands I mean both yours and mine and the lands of all lords around here, suffer from a sickness, a cyst, an ulcer that we can't seem to get rid of. I speak of the bandits and pirates and ne'er-do-wells who dwell in the forest beyond and along the river. And it's our hope to remove these people from our lands.
I will not lie. I'm sure you are shrewd as your father. It was not convenience alone by way I married my daughter to him. I expect the valor of the Swan Knights could be put to test on this matter, though have found near a year go by with no such action. I had feared that the stranger would claim your father before our plans would come to fruition.
Well, I am his proxy in this matter, as he is sick at the moment. And so in all senses, I'm him at the moment. And this is to be my first conquest, I suppose. We're hoping you might know something about the bandits and about their whereabouts, knowledge about their numbers, who leads there, who lives there, how we might best them.
Thus far, my efforts to best them have proved fruitless beyond my own borders, and even now and then they will raid and take what my own garrisons cannot guard. We must watch the Red Fork for the pirates, the forest for the brigands. Be always wary for what trouble the roads to our holdfast might bring.
Indeed. It's like that everywhere. And even with our host, mighty as it may be, cannot be everywhere at once. And so we should just be in one place for a short time. If we remove them from that place, both of those places, it will put an end to this and send a clear message that lawlessness and outlawry will not be accepted here in our lands.
You would have leave of my land to pass your troops through on this conquest, and our aid, I gather.
Well, leave absolutely would be necessary. You don't have any intention of storming through your land without your permission. Aid, if you would grant it, would be more than welcome.
I would be reluctant to grant aid to this endeavour without some pressure released upon our host. Perhaps if Marrel or Riverthorn or Rugar's Hold should be claimed, then with those borders relaxed, I could add aid to this endeavour.
Our hope is to take all of them.
He stops again at that as he's come to the chamber, not because of that, but because of your words, and turn to you. Your ambition, I see, is to maps and not to the field, as was your father's way.
No, indeed. It baffles me that we allow these brigands to remain in our lands. They are thieves and pirates, and we are the law. We are knights, and I won't stand for it. And so, my hope would be to take all of these places, to take Port Marrow, to take Rugar's Hold, eject them from the forest, and to reclaim Riverthorn.
It is not that they are allowed to be there, sir, that it is by their will, or else hosts greater than our own would have scoured them long decades past. The fork fluctuates and is treacherous to deeper-bellied ships, and war hosts cannot pass along the waters. brigands have many places to flee from hosts that might endanger them, and the forest precludes engagement with pike and steed.
Indeed, it's not easy. We have captured one of them, and we are trying to extract every piece of information that we can. It seems that there are two factions among them currently at peace, and my thought was that we could turn them against each other. And even if we can get some information about the forest and the paths that lead there and the shape of Rugar's hold, and it might help us significantly. I understand that you don't have a great many troops to spare. That is not an insult. And I understand if you cannot contribute a great many, but your permission to pass through your lands at the very least would be gratefully accepted.
As we are family, I would not deny you, sir.
Beyond that, what happens when we are finished and we have taken all of these places, I am of the opinion that we are, as you say, family, and that something should go to you.
You do me well. I thank you. Let us count those rabbits once we've caught them.
I think that's wise.
For now you shall have my hospitality, my lord, you and your brother, and your men, such as they are. And you shall have leave of my lands for your endeavours to conduct what scouting you may need, and when the time comes that the troops may pass through here, they will know that it is in the keeping of the peace and not the breaking of it.
Good.
I would ask only of news of my daughter, leave of her to visit, or myself her.
Of course, you're always welcome. And she can visit you if she would so wish. We'll escort her here.
And once one of these dens of depravity and lawlessness has been vanquished, then you shall have some of my soldiers as well, sir.
For the taking of the others.
Yes.
Very good.
A drink, he proposed. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, yeah, I'll gladly accept a drink and
Drink to the agreement. Have your servant pour each of you wine. It's Arbor Gold.
lovely. My lord, have you any men who are at all versed with the forest or the surrounds? I know there are no maps of the place.
We have little and less information of the place, and it is not wholly mapped from what records Maester Ferris has provided to me. As for the troops, mine own are humble forces, not even of the ilk of your father's host. We have no bog treaders as House Kitely do to the north, or mountaineers such as the Tullisons to the east. Our skill is with the crossbow and with keeping what we have. I'll give you an idea that his house's military force is largely a defensive one. And you get
I'm
the
sure your
host is about 200 or so, which will be other confirmation why he has never moved on any of these places, even though they obviously trouble his lands, because they have more than parity with him.
I'm sure your men will be more than a match for the brigands of those parts.
Together, I am sure. You get the sense he's scared to have his own forces be placed into some fodder kind of position by this arrangement. He's already like uncoiling at the thought.
Willem has no such plans for that. He'll raise his glass again.
Is there some other hospitality or deed that I might do for you or your men, my lords?
would Oster have told me about the Drummond or the Crow?
I mean, yeah, I was just going to seek out, once you guys have set to feasting, I was just going to seek out this maester.
Okay, yeah. Because I can just ask this guy, I guess, but I don't know if we want to reveal that we're looking for him.
It doesn't sound like Droman has given up any information, or he has no information.
So it's just a question of like, because if I ask him, he can't really say no, right? So he'll bring me to him, and thus you to him. But it's a question of, do we want him to know that I care about this guy?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that
You'll figure it out
having
yourself.
me do it is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd only been sent there to scout out the thing that we're currently talking about with this guy. Like, nothing dodgy.
I guess I'll just like, pour over maps and discussions and sort of like my ideas for what the plan might be, and like bring him in as much as I can about sort of like, maybe I won't mention about pardoning yet until that becomes an option, because this guy probably has a lot more reason to like directly hate these people than we do.
The brigands of Geraint's Forest, from Gelded Barrett, have been raiding Page lands for food.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely he would be interested in a plot that involves pardoning any of them. Whereas Riverthorn or Port Maril, he probably gives less of a shit.
Yeah.
Is our only real option to move into the forest first? Is that...
Well, you can go to Port Maril by the waters, but it's shallower parts of the fork that lead up to Port Maril, like at a naturally desirable position to deny bigger craft.
Yeah.
And then there's like the tidal flats, which nullify a lot of heavy armor mobility, or like infantry mobility.
Could we not just walk to it?
You can, but it's just like really tricky. Pardon?
Can we not just walk to it?
Yeah, you could march through Geraint's Forest
Forest.
to that.
So do you have to? You have to go through the forest to get to it?
Yeah, the southern tip of Geraint's Forest cuts the border between House Page and Port Maril.
Oh, I see. Could we go all the way around? Like, if we go all the way around the forest to where Riverthorn is, and then down
to Riverthorn?
Just because, like, we are gonna fucking kick the shit out of any bandits on a battlefield, right? Like, we can be pretty confident in that fact.
There's no battlefields. There's no battlefield in Geraint's Forest.
Right.
Yeah, I
if
don't
we
want to
can
go
just-
there first, basically.
If we can just walk
'Cause I
around
think
the
it'd be-
forest, like, I mean, it's a long way, and we might have to cross someone else's lands and talk to them, but around that to, like, all the way around it to, like, pass by Riverthorn and then just walk into the port and take it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you could do that. You could like treat with a neighboring westerly lord, and then pay them for like a military access. You know, of course they'll want to know why, and they'll want to cut, and it just means that you're going to have to cut more people in.
Another cut.
Yeah, but you certainly could avoid Geraint's Forest and that way go about it.
I think that the port is almost the most important thing, because they're all going to flee via the port, right? Like, all the bandits are going to run there, get on boats, and leg it across one or two little jumps, and we lose them in the river. We want to try and get as many of them as we can, I think. And if we can cut the port, then they have to run, and then we have horses and they don't, mostly, you know, and so, like, that's not happening, you know?
Once we've got the port too, we can hold the port and like get
Starve
boats
them.
to go to and from Swansong, you know?
Yeah, and we can start, like,
We
I
need to.
imagine a lot of
Launch
their food comes that way, you know?
Can we float into the port from our, I guess, downstream?
With your own ships at the moment, they'd be too big to get into Port Maril,
Yeah.
but like with smaller craft, you certainly could, though you'd be, like dangerously outnumbered unless you went in a force that you don't have the requisite craft to
Yeah.
ferry.
Yeah, but like if we go Riverthorn first and then the port, we just seize it, take their shitty little boats, and we can use them.
Yeah.
The map I gave is not entirely accurate. Like the eastern fringe of Geraint's Forest reaches the Blue Fork, and so you would still technically have to go through
okay.
Geraint's.
Okay.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, okay. And Riverthorn is just at the top of the forest then? Like, it's basically...
Yep. Yeah, it's more hilly terrain on the northern side of Geraint's Forest, so where like those hills meet the Blue Fork, nestled in there is where Riverthorn is.
Okay. So the shortest route to get to the port would be to like, yeah, I guess
Sail, which would be the
sail.
dangerous.
We're not going to
most
do that.
dangerous.
Yeah.
If you engage Port Marrow from the rear on land, yeah, you will see. Imagine you'd seize the place, and
Yeah.
many of them would escape. If you use just ships to block where the confluence of the Blue and the Red Fork are, they could only go one way, which is into High House Kitely's lands, and can become their lawless problem.
Yes, that's
if you want
fine.
to do it
Aha.
technically.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. Can I mean, we probably have the capability of building siege weapons.
Here's a tricky thing.
Okay.
Conceivably, by what's established about your house, yes, but mechanically within the abstract, no. Like you don't have that unit, as opposed to say House Tullison, who do have an engineer crew, like part of their armed forces.
I see.
So it'd be unfair to say, well, not unfair, but inconsistent to say yes, you can, when they have actually a specialist unit, which should mean yes, they can.
Yeah.
I see.
I don't
we've got
know
to
how
just
useful
think
siege stuff's going to be anyway.
Well, I just mean if we
Like-
rock up to Riverthorn with like 3 trebuchets, we go surrender, or we just
Oh, yeah.
pummel you into the dirt, and they go okay, But yeah, you do need an engineer. Like you can't just. I couldn't build a siege engine without like that knowledge, so I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
Can we
true.
buy some?
Like, we've got the manpower to do it, but
We have a lot of wealth and stuff. Can you buy new units or?
Yeah, you can. Wealth can pay for power.
It might be worth considering buying like a troop of engineers for.
yeah, what are the other units?
Or you could try
Talk
and
to
cut
Tullison.
Tullison. Yeah.
Get that marriage on the road, man.
Yeah, I mean that's important for sure. Like that is.
What an unromantic dowry.
Yeah.
100 leather apron
And an engineer.
and like 100 tons of wood.
And that guy right there.
I mean, there's no real big disadvantage, is there, of just going through the forest? Except everyone will
Yeah, cavalry and heavy infantry
flee.
counted by the
We'll
forest.
have problems with our troops. Yeah.
Well, we just leave the cavalry and take all the... We've got archers, infantry...
Yeah, but, I mean, I guess we can just get our knights off the horses and just have them walk. Like, they're still terrifying warriors on foot, Like,
Yeah, but out of their heavy
Well, we've got
killed by a peon with a bow,
Yeah.
and you're not concentrated force. I'm not trying to say don't do it. I'm just saying they can die easier if they're not on a horse and in armor.
yeah,
I think we need to send in
Like-
spies. I think we need to
Yeah,
send in
we need
spies to
information.
Port Merrill to determine, before we make any.
yeah.
do some
It
rudimentary
may be
mapping
easier
of...
than.
If
I mean, we may be able to.
You go. Sorry. No, I'll go.
I was going to say, maybe we could. Maybe we could float across at nighttime. I don't know, like what their defenses are.
Yeah.
To Riverthorn, you mean?
No, to Port Merrill, like.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just like under the cover of darkness. I don't know how many men they have guarding it. I don't know. And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
maybe like a 2-prong attack.
Mhm.
Cut off their escape and then come in force.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the thing is we have to do the forest first. But I mean,
We could just trudge through it with, like,
Putting it
the
on
infantry,
paper,
the archers, the
enemy.
personal guard.
Like you could just lose men on the river.
yeah.
Imagine losing trained soldiers just to drowning.
No, I want to
That'd be
avoid
right.
that because we're not ironborn, we're not sailors. Like, I don't think it's a great idea to like try and fight by water when everyone wears chainmail.
Yeah.
So I think like if we can wait, we need to wait. We need to get information, send scouts if we can to scout the place, send spies if we can, and try and get the word to this Rugen guy that like, listen, if you fucking join us, we'll make you a landed knight.
Yeah.
Like that would be very hard for him to turn down. I think.
Can we actually... Like, we can't really promise that of him, can we? Can we make people landed knights?
Yeah.
Your father can.
Yeah, you, just
Yeah,
you give him
okay.
a land, and we make him a knight, and then he's a landed knight. Like
But the problem is, like, it's not really our land to be like, oh, we'll give you this, because then the old mate will just be like, no, actually, Tully's keeping that, and you're going to get this,
yeah, we can give him. I mean, we're going to get some land out of this, like,
and we'll give him something of
give
it.
him a part of the forest, or like he can become Castellan of a place, or You know, like there's lots of jobs that he can have that will massively improve his situation
Mm.
and safety and allow his family to like inherit his stuff, which is probably a huge deal, you know, I would think.
It's yeah. I would definitely take the deal if I was him.
Yeah.
If I was offered it.
Yeah. We haven't spoken, or Oster hasn't spoken with Drummond yet either, so there might be.
There might be more info. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like the answer is we wait and gather information more than we do anything now.
Yeah, I was thinking in terms of like, all right, who are going to be the scouts? Who are going to be the spies? Like maybe if there's some people that can pose as, yeah, we want to join your ranks, you know. If there were still Crow recruits that could be used for that, I don't know what the situation is yet.
Like
Yeah,
Crow
fair.
recruits don't want to go to the wall; they want to be bandits. That's why they're going to the wall. You know, like
Yeah, that's yeah, that's good.
yeah,
Accurate.
if you're putting them in a cage to bring them to the wall, they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And if you say, "Hey, go spy on these bandits," they'll go, "Okay."
Oh yes, I'll report back, my lord. Yes.
Bandits gain +5
Yeah.
units.
Yeah.
So how will Oster gain entrance and to speak with this crow?
Well, I'll just approach this maester. And first, do I know his name? Do I know who he is? Do I know anything about him?
You heard him referenced as Maester Ferris, and let's see, he's an older guy. Actually, he's moving on a roll. He wouldn't have been in the Citadel at the same time as you.
You said he is. I'm sorry. You said he is old.
He's old, so I'm not even going to bother rolling to see if there's a chance that he might have been at the Citadel at the same time as you.
Oh,
He's
okay.
served this house for quite some time, so it would be unknown to you. Well, you'd know his name, I think, from your spy network.
Mr. Ferris. Yeah, I'd introduce myself, Mr. Ferris. Do I see him? Is he in the yard to greet us?
It's easy enough to seek out. Yeah, he was at the yard greeting you, and then would have been in that council where all the lords were speaking, and then would have presumably gone about his business where you could catch him thereafter.
Excellent. Yeah, I approach Maester Ferris. I am Oster Rivers of House Grayle, and I like hold that to see if there's recognition of my name.
I see. Well, then he just takes you as one of the servants or retinue of Ronald Red.
I serve with Maester Grubrook back at Swansong on all matters medical. I heard that you have taken in an injured man, a man of the Night's Watch.
Indeed, we are honoured to house one of the brothers here. I've been seeing to his health. Nasty business.
Well, the rumors in Tailford are true. We do attend to the Night's Watch as all lords do in our service in the protection of the realm. I was curious if I could attend to the man. I have come from the capital not too long ago, and I've learned many new techniques. I do not mean to impose.
I do not think that would be regular, sir. Forgive me. You may visit this man and speak with him if you wish, but I am tasked with his care and would not leave that to one unchained such as yourself.
Yes, I have no chain. I am an acolyte. I have yet to complete it. But as you see, Maester, I will not impose. But yes, if there is a time in which I could speak to him, I would be most appreciative.
I shall take food and drink to him and check upon his condition now. If it please you, sir, you may come with me, Oster.
Yeah, I fall in behind him.
Yeah, he'll go take you up to his rookery and have food and drink brought for the man, and he will introduce you to who you see is, as you expected, Dromond, laid up with a bandaged arm and bandages across his chest, dried blood it's been largely washed away from his face and beard, and sweat hanging heavy that across his brow and matting his hair. He gives you a glower as the maester introduces you to him, And then Ferris, with that, will like totter off to see the other things in his rookery, giving you time and space enough to have some hushed words between each other. They've never been so unhappy to see someone.
You are alive.
And in such fine state.
And what of your flock? Have they joined one of these bandit lords?
My men, my brothers, who were slain. Arrows and quarrels from the woods as we passed west out of Tullison land across the Green Fork into those lands you'd asked me to reconnoiter.
Yeah, the mention of his men.
Locals welcomed their freedom and turned as quickly as you might think. Cut free the cart horse and rode west, hard for west, and hoping that I'd come to law. The grace I ended up in these halls, into a maester rather than a butcher. Though don't think that means I'll be thanking you, nor asking for further coin.
You took it easy enough back at the capital.
I
knew the rest.
asked me to look for lands. Did I? Did I know the place was crawling with brigands? No. Did you, I wonder?
I mean, I did. Did I? I don't think I did. Did I?
Not the way you know now.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I'd give the most kind of, unknowing kind of expression to that. Certainly not. I would not have sent you into something as dangerous as this if I knew ahead of time.
And now I shall return to Castle Black when I'm well, with a horse and a useless sword arm when I left with a cart and 3 good men.
And I kind of nod with kind of sympathy for his slain brothers, but then my gaze meets his. Did you learn anything?
That whatever men we managed to cut down before we were overwhelmed are more than replenished by those hopeful crows they plucked off me. I know that Tullison's lands are plagued from the east as well as the west by those river pirates. Mountain men have come down seeking easier prey than that in the Vale, so their attention turns. I was warned against going south to the Blue-Red Fork. The river pirates are thick thereabouts, were the words of the ferrymen who gladly took our coin after dropping us on the shore of death. And I would wager that there are veterans or knights amongst those broken men who ply their evil trade there. The coordination was such, not that of mere wild folk or senseless brigands.
What of this plague? Did you hear news of that?
So no sign of plague, nor plagued men. Thank the Seven for that small mercy.
Yeah, I stand at that. And I probably wouldn't push the coin into this man's. He wouldn't take it anyways. But
Hey, he'd definitely take coin.
oh, he would.
Who
Then I
wouldn't?
do so. Okay, then I do so. I give him some more than whatever his share that we agreed upon, and probably 10% extra. I know this does not come near to replacing your brothers, but may it buy you the ale to drown out the memories, the bad ones, and bring back the good ones.
And when this coin is spent, long after I'll remember to give wide berth to you.
Yeah, I nod at that. It's fine.
At that, Maester Fershel will turn and say, "Oh, you are a charitable gentleman, sir, and a credit to your master." And then you'll like lean over and tutter over the man, not noticing the glower that Droman gives you as he's like secreting the coin.
Yeah, I quickly leave and go find the others. And once I do, I tell them that House Tolleson is beset from the east, and that basically everything that Droman has said, that he's added to the ranks from those he's gathered from the south, and that there's no sign of plague, that he didn't see it, and that there are trained men amongst them, not just the rabble that these lords take them to be.
Maybe Dugan or Thalia have trained men amongst their forces.
Broken men are broken men, I suppose.
It worries me that House Tolleson is besieged on two fronts. Perhaps it is now that we can. Perhaps they will be more pliable to accept Grayle help. I think your offer of marriage will come as a god's sent.
Perhaps more cheaply than expected.
They have many men. Would any of us or Oster know
Who, sorry?
Tolleson?
Give me a history check.
Oh, shit, I don't know where my fucking dice are.
Bloody hell. Where are we?
I don't know. It's
You can
10.
roll an investigation if you want Oster instead of a history.
16?
16 will be enough. Here we are. They have two levies of small folk, an eastern and a western levy. They have a trained castle garrison. They have a support like mining and construction crew, and they are currently drilling a company of veteran guerrillas intending to push like into the mountains. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 450 plus host.
A mighty host.
Not as mighty as Grayle's, but bigger than Page's.
Gorillas is exactly what we need for trudging through the forest.
Yeah, Tullesons have no port access though, and no ships. So to use them, like, would require like interlocking support. You'd have to use your ships to ferry them into your supply train.
Yeah.
Whereabouts on the map are Tolleson lands? Are they between?
So the one that I gave you, there's an arrow pointing them off to the east. If you look where like the King's Road strides the Vale, they're on that far eastern fringe of the Riverlands.
Oh, right.
In the lee of the first mountains of the moon.
Oh, okay.
Just across the King's Road towards the eastern bank of the Green Fork.
Yeah.
You said they were sailed from east and west, did you?
Yep, west by river brigands and east by mountain men who have come down into the Riverlands from the Mountain of the Moon, seeking easier prey of the Riverland spearmen than Knights of the Vale. And yeah, some of you knew, maybe it was Lloyd's character who found out that Eve's younger brother, Lord Dunstan Tullison, is like the Lord of Mountain's Reach and is a young, inexperienced, and recently landed lord.
Well, if they're training men to go into the mountains, perhaps they're going to deal with that threat rather than the seaborne one, river.
Yeah, well, the sea one means that they would need ships or boats to conquest that. I can't yet. That's probably more a priority for them. You get the sense then, given
Yeah.
that what their armed forces are currently, they obviously think that the mountain raids, the eastern raids, are more of a problem.
What's on the west of the forest?
That is on the northwest of Durain's forest is the lands of House Vypren, Vypren, and then north, on like the northern point between House Vypren and Riverthorn, which would have been owned by House Orell, is this southern part of the domains of House Kitely. So if you wanted to skirt west around Durain's forest, you could go through Page Land into Vypren, and then from Vypren into Kitely, and then from Kitely into Riverthorn.
Oof.
Yeah, and then to get down from Riverthorn down to the port, we'd have to go into the forest, hey?
Yep.
Yeah. And Riverthorn's nestled in the hills. It's not on the river, is it? It's not a port.
Riverthorn's not a port. It's nestled into the hills that look over the Blue Fork.
Yeah.
And then south of the castle and the hills that it's built upon are like verdant fields where the Riverthorn rose and the crops would grow. So Riverthorn's quite lucrative in that it borders Kitely Marshes to the north, Durain Woods to the south, Blue Fork to the west, and it has as terrain features both linkage to river, agriculture, mountains, and woods.
Yeah.
And you can imagine in the old days that House Orell would have traded south to House Marrell, which would have been their access to the Trident navally.
And Riverthorn is somewhat defensible, right?
The seat Riverthorn, like the holdfast itself, yes, more because of natural geography than because of
an actual castle or anything.
Yeah, it's more of like a stout wooden holdfast, if I remember correctly. I'll confirm that for you in a second. It's like a stone and wood holdfast that's nestled into the mountain, so it's more like the approach and the mountain denied flank that are the supreme defensive factors in that situation. Not that it's a castle. It's like the castle or the holdfast is smaller than House Grayle's own small castle, which is smaller than Swansong.
Okay. Yeah, I just wonder if going around is worth the effort, and if we aren't better just mustering all our forces here and then going through the forest.
I guess the thing is they're not. If we fight them they won't fight us in the woods, right? They're going to go back to their
skirmish us.
You imagine it in protracted guerrilla warfare in the woods with them retreating back to Rugar's Hold, which would then be like entrenched, defense against whatever comes.
The thing is, if we can get to that place, we can just walk around it to the port, which is less defensible. And if we can take that, then we starve the people who are in the castles, because I guess a lot of their food is coming from the port.
A lot of the food from Durain's forest is coming from the way that Barrett tells it. Extortion food from Riverthorn, stolen food from House Page, and bought/traded food in Port Marrell.
Oh, Riverthorn is
/pirated.
Riverthorn's not part of the Bandit Empire?
Nope. It is like a haggard survivor group being extorted by the brigands of Durain's forest.
Oh, all right. So
nominally claimed, you'd imagine, by Pem and Dugan, but
okay. So I think what we can do then is we go to Riverthorn, we tell them we're going to protect them, and they're ours now, and then we wait for them to come, the next bandits group, who come to extort the place, and we like take them.
Yeah,
Um,
I do like that idea. Just going there and holding up there.
yeah, and then we just take them, and then like they probably send more people to be like, where the fuck did they go? And then, maybe that happens twice, and then they realize, and then they send lots of dudes potentially, or they don't, But if they're getting fed from Riverthorn, it's a really important place for them.
Yeah. So if we do that, and then we also, we've got some extra forces here now to bolster the defenses at House Page. So then that's less food they're going to be getting from there as well.
Yep.
So even from Riverthorn, Pageland, and then it's just the port, which is seemingly the hardest nut to crack because it's in the forest.
Only because it's in the forest, yeah. So I think if we can like get Riverthorn on side, which will be easy, and if they don't agree, we just make them agree. And we can start bolstering the place there. Like, might be a while before they catch up to the fact that we're there. We don't have to send like 700 dudes there. We can send like 200 dudes there and be well comfortable in the idea that they're not going to send any force there. To claim Riverthorn, I don't think. And if they do, 200 men can probably hold it anyway until we get there, if that's necessary. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think it's safe to assume that like the veteran or well-drilled companies of 100 men would hold.
Yeah.
Like in an open pitched or defensive battle against whatever they could muster against you.
Yeah.
It's just attacking them that's the real difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't actually necessarily need to attack them, is the thing, because they have to eat, right? Like, and so if we can take the supply of Page and of Riverthorn from them, we block a lot of their food. And I guess they have to pass Riverthorn to get... No, they don't. They can go through the forest. That's right.
Well, that's also the two of their three sources of food and supply. Those are the two which are free for them because it's brigandry.
Yes.
Or they have to...
And you can imagine if Port Marrow has
that trade, yeah.
We mean to starve out Rutgers.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my thinking.
And then
like if they had supplies. It doesn't sound like they have supplies
No.
held up there.
I don't think bandits are... I mean, maybe they have some veterans, but they're not going to think in the way that, like, in the long-term way that, like, legacy lords do, Like, they're not going to think we need X amount of supplies in case this happens. Like, they always have been able to steal. And I think, like, this way we lose the least men. And, I don't know, again, to use a total war metaphor, we're, like, besieging them and they will start to lose by attrition, boys. Like, if you're a bandit and you're not getting fed here anymore, like, you just fuck off somewhere else, and that's fine for us. I also think that will make the other guy, Ruger, or what's the Rugen, much more likely to be like, fair
Dugan.
enough, you've got me, Dugan, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think like we can at least start this way, and if it doesn't work, then we just go back to the smash them with our army approach.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like this plan a lot actually. Because we can always go back to the march into the forest plan if we want.
Yeah, it'll pretty quickly widen the cracks between the two factions in there as well, and because they're like, they want to do what they want. They're opportunistic, like they're not getting fucking fed.
And the thing is, like, they don't have the sort of like, we can rely on our people doing what we say because there's oaths and loyalty, and like they don't have that. They have lots of people who are there out of desperation, and who, like, when things get hard, will just go somewhere else. Like I think. They'll have plenty of like deserters, I guess. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't imagine, like if I'm playing an outlaw in this game and then I'll get super super hard and I can't eat anymore and I'm told to go fight knights, I'm like, nah, off I go. I'm off somewhere else. Like, no way.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that might be our best sort
I just
of
sent you guys an updated copy of that little mud map that I did as well.
Oh, perfect.
House Shawnee, is that there on the...
Yep, they're the Tully Banner House.
Oh yeah, that's right, the
Fish.
the rainbow and the fish, or the river colours of the fish.
Oh yeah, Kitely.
And what kind of house are... These are minor houses. Are they knightly houses?
House Kitely is a banner house of the Freys. House Shawnee is a banner house of the Tullys. House Page is an allied knightly house. And Viprin is a minor noble house. Yeah, so they're probably comparable or less power to your house, to Grayle.
Yeah.
Does Shawnee have a port?
Yeah, and House Viprin are married. The lady of House Vibrant, is a Frey. So they're an ally to Frey, and Kylie are a Bannerlord of Frey.
So they have a port, huh?
Who does?
Shawnee. How's Shawnee?
Yeah, like jetties and docks. I imagine that they've got they exist on like a bunch of like tributaries and like flats.
Right, but they'd be like river folk and would like know. They might be like a way for us to get into Marrow.
Yeah, you think it's pretty sure that they, how Lord Page spoke of suffering at the hands of the brigands of Durane's Forest. You can bet that House Shawnee have been suffering from the river pirates of Port Marrow.
Yeah. And where is Tolleson? Are they to our west?
That's far to your east. They're on the eastern verge of the Riverlands.
Oh, okay.
So they're not on that map I gave you, just the direction.
Yeah, they're much further out. Okay.
Yep.
But they are harried from their west.
Yeah, the pirates come up the Green Fork, disembark, and then go and raid stuff off their land and go back onto the river. And that's Tolleson can't chase them beyond the riverbanks.
So they definitely don't have a maester in either of these bandit halls, so we can't really send a letter, which is unfortunate. But it might be worth. If we go to Riverthorn and like gather some boys, we can send one home. The second time, send one back to say, "This is the fucking story, all right? No, none of you want to die here, so go deliver this message to Dugan, and whatever, something like that."
So would you to sail up the Blue Fork and land men at Riverthorn, claim it, and then begin parlay through that way? Is that the plan?
That would be. I would think we could send like 150 of our best there, including probably myself or Willem, like someone who's lordly and who can make calls.
Exactly. Yeah.
Send them there to wait, and then we can do the mustering and stuff in Redden Hall as much as possible. Have a chat with House Shawnee about like, hey, listen, we're working on this thing together. Do you want to help? Can't guarantee any land out of it. What we can guarantee is that these fuckers will be gone. I think that's. If I'm Lord Johnny, I'm probably like, yeah, fair enough. Like, I don't want to line it.
Edmure goes, it looks good if you're helping out his banner house when he's supposed to.
Yep.
True.
Oh, it looks good or it looks bad?
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking against that as a point of order, like to your case, would be bad for him, because then it makes a stark contrast to all of his failings.
Exactly, because I can be like, well, someone had to do it.
Yes. Yes, and thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have like 15 fingers in 30 pies with this. Of course. But I think to boil it down, we send a force of about 150 to Riverthorn to like seize it and begin fortifying it and denying them the food there. We send the rest of the bulk of our forces to like Redden Hall and to protect the farmsteads around Redden Hall, so that when brigands come, there's like 4 or 5 dudes of ours like in the vicinity or more. Ideally more, but you know what I mean? Like every house has like a guard, so that when people come to steal shit, oh shit, who are these dudes in plate mail? Like,
yeah.
And that'll send a clear message, because that'll happen once before they realize, oh shit, we can't do that anymore. Right?
And presumably Riverthorn's going to support your army terrain-wise better than any other first point. Right?
Yes.
Like to make it sure that Riverthorn's better than either of the other places.
Yep. And so then,
as far as
definitely.
Yeah, I think then it's worth sending messages to Viprin and Kitely. Well, actually, do we want that, or do we want to encourage the bandits to go there?
Yeah, I think we just leave them out of it.
Yeah.
I don't want too many.
Well, we don't want to split the pot too far. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, if they're opportunistic, like think of what you or I might do in that situation when you hear all these bandits locked down and there's lands up for grab, you'd pour in and just imagine that. Oh my god, that'd be too bad.
If they just pour into the forest, I don't care so much. Like what are they going to claim in there?
Yeah.
Like if we've already got Riverthorn and we're like, we set up there and garrison it, and I guess Willem goes there and then just waits on Ronald's orders or an assault or something.
Mm-hmm.
So the ships can I think you guys have 2 ships, is that right?
I think so.
So they can transport 50 men each, and there's 100 men to a company. So if you want us, you could send 2 ships laden with men up to Riverthorn with the first lot of 100, which would be 1 company you'd have to designate. I'm going to say that if you want to put your cavalrymen, Lloyd, those knights, as you'd said, to patrolling your lands to increase lawfulness, that will allow you to take out 200 men, 2 companies from your current garrisons and standing forces, and not have it negatively affect your law score.
Okay. Yep.
So, and you can choose to push it beyond that if you want, but I'm just saying as like an arbitrary, you can start at 200 men without any negative consequences and see how you want to work it from there.
So I think because we're going to war now, we want to pull the boys who are working on farms back from that job. I don't know if you factor that in, but like we have a lot of dudes who are like on rotation at the moment, like doing farm work. All of them are coming back because they were getting to the real business.
A raid flies out of Redden Hall back to this.
Yep. And so then, if we take all those guys back, and then I want to increase lawfulness in our place. So some of those guys who were on farms are going to be doing the patrols now that they used to do. Because we had a lot of boys, and we had set a sort of option for them to either work the farm or to do grueling training. I think was the option.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yep.
And so all of those sort of spare dudes are going to be involved now. So I want to be putting 150 with Willem or myself, whoever goes to Riverthorn, to like claim it and lie low is the thing. Like we don't want to like put any Grayle flags up or anything, and then wait for the bandits to come for their usual shit, hide in the houses, let them come into the town or whatever, and then butcher them or whatever, keep one alive for questioning or whatever, and rinse and repeat until that doesn't work anymore. Then we want to send like enough people into Redden Hall and the Page lands to ensure that they can't steal food from those lands. And that's probably step 1. Like when we have that going, they'll start to realize that they're in trouble. And then maybe we'll get a message from this Dugan guy. They'll start fighting each other. But I think like step 1 is probably to do those 2 things.
So for the abstract of the mechanics with the house stuff here and power, like you can't really, even though it doesn't make sense, split companies. Like you can't take 100 of spearmen and split them into 2 parts and then have them have the same values kind of thing. So with the 2 ships, you can transport 100 and then you can transport a further 100. But it's kind of like in those increments, except for like engineer specialist crews or cavalry, which you can do in those 50 kind of.
That's a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
Which one would we send up to?
The initial force. Yeah, I don't even have your list of army up. Yeah.
We've got the veteran cavalry, trained infantry, trained archers, trained personal guard, and veteran garrison.
Are they 100 each?
Yeah, except for the cavalry.
Okay. We actually don't have very many men. We have 450 men.
450, yeah.
That's the same as the baddies.
Yes, except they have more mobile force because they've got more ships. And they got better. They're on the defense, so they have the advantage.
It could go south if one of us just sail up with 100 men and we get there and there's 300 men to fight before we, maybe we can't even take Riverthorn.
I can't imagine that there's 300 of them anywhere.
They're all divided amongst 3 separate factions. That's the complete of all of them, right? All factions put together.
I think it's
I think you'd imagine from your early intelligence, there's be less than 100 people in Riverthorn, and 200 or less by Barrett's testimony in Durand's Forest, and who knows more or less than that in Port Maril. Port Maril, from what you understand, has it works as a pseudo town and is a dynamic town. So the possibility that there's more than 200 people there, 200 souls in total, is pretty high. As to what military force it could stack up to its own defense, I don't think you guys have the information to make a call on that yet.
I thought we had so many more men than this. I thought we had at least double this.
I thought you guys had 600 for some reason.
I thought we had 1,000 because we've been talking about how powerful we are militarily, and I guess this is a large force for Western.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not.
If it was concentrated, but because it's spread across Paleford and Swansong and your farmlands and this military operation, it starts to feel thin.
Well, it seemed like heaps when there was nothing for them all to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But now
So, do we have? I mean, did we start any feared stuff? No, we don't have that. Like militias and stuff.
peasant levy sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Is
You
there
don't have any ship troops.
Is there any tradition of that?
Yeah, all of your current forces would have been most likely before the War of the Usurper levied. You know, the vast majority of them would have been called to serve, not chose to serve.
Yeah.
And then those who were left alive and who proved themselves would have been remained on. You know,
Yeah.
and that was your father's prerogative, much to the chagrin of Grubrook and probably others too. You know, when in
Yeah.
peacetime those funds and men could have been put to better use elsewhere, but obviously because of his own personal ambition,
Yeah.
he has an agenda
So then-
as to what keeps those forces standing.
What season is it? Spring?
No, it's summer now.
Okay. And so if we take, I'm not a clue about this. If we take the farmers away now, will it fuck everything? They've already done all the planting and stuff, right?
Yeah, there's still stuff that needs to be done in the summer in fashions. Like certainly you could start, levying people if you needed to now.
But I think, we didn't set our soldiers to do the annual farm work. It was
No.
because certain crops were not being taken care of. It was like catching up work. Yeah.
They're collecting the abundance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, I mean, the
As
question
far
I
as
have,
productivity as a business goes, if your house didn't have those troops standing but worked them on the ample land it has, then it could be much more viable. But that's not the only factor.
so I'm thinking in terms of if we get some levy, we have more bodies, and that's useful. But it might cost us some harvest, and I don't think we're in a position where that's going to kill our house. But it might kill our house if we get into a battle and we have 100 men less than we could have.
Yeah, we may get
And you've got to spend from those house resources. If you want to levy troops, you've got to take it out of somewhere else to pay for the wealth to get the power.
Sure. Or can we just spend money to get more troops? To buy more troops?
Yeah, it says in that. Do you guys have the document, the Game of Thrones edition?
I have it somewhere, yeah. Because I think it's probably worth buying some boys.
Are we not getting any bodies from our allies that we're trying to?
Yeah, but we want. I mean, yes, we are. But I think that when it comes to the story of what this was, we want to be like there were, 3 Grayle men for every other, so that we did it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I don't want it to be like, oh, it was a coalition of no, it was a Grayle thing and they helped.
If you can seize one of either Port Maril or Duran's Forest, they'll pledge 100 men, which is half their force, which is more than you should ask for and more than they should give. And that's a pretty static figure, you could expect or rely on 100 men from those allies, and that's it.
Yeah.
Who's that page?
Yep.
Any of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Taliesin, have around 400 plus, comparable to your own forces, so might be relied upon if there's an arrangement to give at least equal to Page.
Yeah, we want their veteran guerrillas is what we want from Taliesin.
Yeah, ideally. Yeah, but to free them up, you would have to deal with their purpose first.
Yeah, and then we would have to split.
Yeah, that's too much.
So I'm just searching for this section where I can buy more boys.
Oh, yeah, I've got
With power? With
power.
wealth?
Power. We can trade wealth for power. So it looks like for trained troops it's 3 power. And then if we want it, it'll depend on what kind of troops they are.
And
We've only unused wealth. Yeah, we've got 3.
So we can turn
3
that
wealth.
our total is 30 something, not our.
Yeah, but that was from the start, and we spent most of that during the house creation. Yeah, so we got 3 unused left.
And I guess
So I think we can convert that 3 unused wealth to 3 unused power, and then spend that to get 1 unit of trained dudes.
that's worth it, I think.
yeah, I think so.
Well, we'll have 0 wealth. Our house will then.
Oh, yeah, that's true, huh?
I'll be back in a minute, sorry, while you guys discuss that.
Okay.
There's our gold money.
I mean, is it a problem not having bulk wealth?
Not currently, because we need the troops more than we need the wealth, and I think by taking these places, our wealth will increase, right? Like,
Go up again.
Surely,
Yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
I think it's worth maybe clarifying with Nico as well, like, because our wealth is like abstracted. Like, we spent it to have the Maester at our castle and the Sept and the City. So I wonder.
like, we should be gaining wealth just passively, I think, by existing. You know,
Yeah,
in some senses.
Yeah, because like all of the money that we were flashing around in the capital, that didn't drop our wealth by any. It's abstracted enough that I think if we're sitting on 0 unused wealth, that doesn't mean we don't have the ability to keep doing that. But
I imagine it's like we're not making any profit. We're like turning over all the things as usual, but then we're using all the profit to train a whole bunch of men or something. You know, work with to outfit a whole bunch of boys.
Yeah, which I mean, to me as well, like narratively, how we get this unit is like while we were away, maybe before we left, we did raise a field or something like that. Since we'd sent some boys out to the fields,
in the training we were doing, we can say there were
levying
people to get in there.
So we could get 3 units of peasant levies or 1 unit of trained peasant levies. So we get 3 units of green peasant levies, which is just 300 bodies, right?
Yeah.
Nico will go through them pretty quickly, I'd say.
Yeah, but that's kind of fine. Like, their purpose is so that our useful boys don't get killed, and their purpose is so that when we rock up, you know, they stand in the back, and it's like, oh, look, our army is twice as big as it looked before.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think that's worth considering. It depends on how much power we have and what we can do with it, and if we have more wealth. And I'm just a little unclear about all that stuff, you know.
I think Nico's back.
I'm back now. If there's anything I can help clarify.
Yeah, with our wealth, like, if we spend our current wealth and we have 0 wealth, like, does that mean we're poor? Like, no, right? We still have the house and all the, like...
No, you have like a total, let's say, of 30 wealth, and you can spend up to 30 of that wealth, and then your score, for instance, would be like 30-30, and it just means you're like that description, that number would have a description in that book as to like what sort of wealth that means that your health displays. Spending all of your wealth kind of accounts for it, as opposed to making you bankrupt. Like, you're not actually losing the wealth when you pay for something. You still retain it because of the thing that it's used for.
Yeah, like the Maester, the Sept, and the Smithy all cost 10, and that's what we did with our 30.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you have 0 wealth. It means you've spent 30 out of 30.
Yeah, we've got infrastructure and stuff from...
Yeah, but
you have 30 wealth. Yeah.
We have 30. We have 3 spare wealth, I think, is what was said.
And an extra 1 from King's Landing, or is that factored in?
Yeah, that's. I think we're up to 33 total, and we've got 3 unused.
So 3 unused wealth means that we can, like I said, we can buy 3 units of green peasant levies, or like that's it. Or we could buy 1 unit of trained peasant levies. With 3 wealth, fuck, man.
Actually,
like, you really
can we train the levies later? Like, does that cost wealth as well to do? Like, if we got the green ones and they survive.
It's a power cost, but I mean, we just trade wealth for power, right? That's what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have any spare power or no?
let me be the bearer
There's
of
none
bad news.
unused.
Bad news.
We have 2 unused wealth, sorry. I'd stuffed up the spreadsheet.
Fuck.
It's 2. Can we buy any? We can buy just like green peasants or whatever, hey?
We have 7 unused, whatever this one in the middle is. Influence.
We've got our power, we've used it all for all those troops. That's exactly 39.
Yeah.
On the
We
400.
have 7 unused influence. I don't know what that's for.
What about fortune? Because the Maester and the Sept apparently give us 3.
Influence.
That's a modifier for a roll when you call for a fortune roll to see what chain of events that happen to your house.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And it looks like influence. Oh no, that's land holdings. Never mind. Yeah. So influence. Oh, that's how many like lords we could have had when we were choosing our characters and that.
Oh yeah. Well, we don't need that anymore. We spent all of that.
Yeah, well, we did spend it all, I think.
We 7
Can we
unused.
convert influence?
Oh,
to...
7 unused, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a convert stuff into stuff table, but I can't seem to find it.
That's below the householding stuff. That's in the house turn stuff. Resource management. Here we
Oh,
go.
house in action. Oh, yeah.
Page 122.
Oh,
That
yeah,
shows
okay.
you what you can trade for. So influence you can trade for law.
Oh, okay.
Law you can't trade for anything.
Fucking useless. Okay, so I guess we could just trade that 7 influence to gain 7 law and then not worry about bandits. Like, I know it's very gamey, you know, but like I'm trying to, like, if
Yeah, you can exert your influence to maintain law, which so that you can draw more troops away
Yeah.
from providing law. Yeah, for sure.
okay.
Cool.
So I mean, yeah, we're not using that influence for anything else, and we can't use it for anything else. So
Yeah.
Might as well.
yeah,
Not that you need to, because you've already got all your heirs and everything established.
wealth goes
So
wealth goes 2 to 1 for anything, which is fucking grim.
So we would get 1 power, and then we could get 1 green
yeah.
peasant levy.
Yeah. So what's the ratio of conversion for influence to law?
Influence to law is 1 to 1, so we gain 7
Okay,
law.
cool. So I'll drop that down to 20 and bump that up to 41.
That probably bumps us up a level.
yeah, it does 41.
41 law.
Yeah, that does that, and that modifies your house fortunes by 1 positive as well.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to find where like there's a
Should have done
description
that already.
of lawlessness.
I think it's near the start. The list of like what each thing represents, like each level.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's bad layout. This one. It's
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's a bit wiggy.
41 is such is your influence and devotion to maintaining the peace that crime is rare now.
Sick.
Damn. Our lands were rife with crime.
Not rife,
No.
they just weren't like free of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better about taking more troops away and like not leaving a huge amount of them at home. And I
Yeah.
think if we take all of our boys, then we're like well in shape to butcher these fools, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
It just
Yeah.
means we're going to have
Yeah,
to
well-
ask other people for help because 1 to 1 we do have better troops, but 1 to 1 we're not fighting a straight battle, you know.
Yeah, that's too close.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, ideally we'd have twice as much, you know, like.
Maybe with Tullison and trying to get their guerrilla soldiers, maybe we can write to them and do it as a send these dudes now to help us sort these lands out, and then we'll help you with your pirate problem and your problem with the with the mountain men.
Aren't they like mountaineer
Yes.
gorillas? Yeah.
Oh,
Like they're
okay.
specifically to deal with their other
Yeah.
threat.
Right. Okay.
To be more like versatile for engaging like the folk in Durian's Forest and say Port Maril than your average soldier, right? They're used to unorthodox doctrine as opposed to like spearmen and pikemen, which rely on like reciprocal doctrines to like be effective against.
We have these veteran troops. That is like a lot of power we spent on those. I'm just thinking, like looking now, that means they're fucking excellent. We spent a lot of money on them. Like they're
Yeah, I was thinking we
way
could
beyond
Garrison or the
veteran garrison
anything,
up
anything
the
that's veteran.
River.
It was
Anything that's veteran, we spent like a shit ton of power on. So those are like really excellent troops, like campaigning troops.
they're the same cost as the trained infantry. They're only both 7. The trained personal guard was 9.
The vet-
That's like
The
huge.
veteran thing costs 5 points. And it means their discipline is excellent and they have more experience and stuff. So, yeah. So, like, they're not... The quality of the actual troop isn't as good, but their quality because of their training is really good.
Yeah,
and we also
okay.
have trained personal guards who are, like, the fucking most incredible troops on the thing, nearly, you know?
They're like the Huskar dudes, right?
Yeah,
They're like
they're like
hardcore
one
knights.
under a warship, you know. So I think they're like, you know, sacred band sort of, like the best of the
they'd be
best.
the Grayle. Yeah, they'd be like the Swan warriors
Yeah.
with all their comparison and crests and stuff.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then, I think with that, do we want to spend that? Well, we can't even. We could spend the wealth to get 1 unit of
Peasants.
garrison. Yeah, peasants.
Yeah, there's a little thing there. It's got a little symbol next to peasants. Like when you recruit a levy of peasants, it negatively impacts your population, I believe.
Okay.
Just read that. Yeah, it's got like a little crucifix symbol next to it, and then that relates to further
Makes
down on the costs of peasants, where it says, just remember that from somewhere in the depths of my
Yeah, it
mind.
is. Yeah, reduce your population by 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got 28 population.
Will
It's
that,
not very high.
No, it's low.
No.
Yeah. Will that
Yeah,
drop us?
that's one thing. Deeps.
Will that drop us down a level if we go?
Because like most of our current military force was once population, and it's
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So what are we at now? 28.
So 28 currently
Okay, yeah.
for
So
population.
we won't drop a level of population if we go down by 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably worth it to get those extra 100 boys.
Will it be down by 2? So we're converting 2 wealth to get 1 power,
Uh-huh.
and then spending that 1 power on a unit of
Garrison. Yeah.
garrison.
No,
Cool,
sorry.
okay.
Peasant levies.
So that goes up to 40. Ooh.
And I guess what we want to do with them is just keep them behind our troops to give the impression that we have more troops. And they can like hold a place or whatever, if we need them to, or escort something. Or...
Yeah. We go green. Green peasant levy. Cool.
So who's the company that you're going to sail up to Riverthorne, and who's the company you're going to move into Redden Hall? This is crying out for tabletop sim, isn't it?
It's getting there, yeah. So, I would think that, although it would be cool for Willem to go and do the commanding on his own, I think that Ronald would be wary about sending him to Riverthorne. Like, I know that you're capable, Tim, but I think that Ronald would think that Willem is maybe not ready to command all the way over there on his own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I don't know how keen he would be, really.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it would make more sense to have you stay to be, overseeing stuff, but I don't actually think there would be that much to do, it's mainly going to be taking Riverthorne and then holding it, and Willem, I think, he knows enough about, staying behind and, sending messages and stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, they're both vital to the effort, so I'm not really sure what's the best move.
I think we have to split them up, though.
We do, yeah.
One stay and one go, and then I don't know about Oster and Jess, but...
I think Jess has to go to Riverthorne.
Okay.
Because she's, woodsy, and,
Yeah.
that's really useful to us.
Yeah.
You and Jess, you think? It makes more sense. You've been on, not
Yeah.
actual campaigns, but, seen more of war than me.
Yeah. I think that makes the most sense. If I go with, I take the personal guard with me.
To Riverthorne with 2
Yeah.
ships and jets?
Well,
I think me and Willem's, our skills would be best suited talking to our allies.
Yeah, I think so too.
True, yeah. Yeah, exactly. We can be like, my brother Ronald the Red is already, fighting them, in the woods, and is, just got word he's taken such and such.
So I think then we have 2 ships, right? So we can take 200.
No, the ships carry 50 each. So 2 ships means you can transfer a company of 100, so 1 unit.
Okay. We really want to bring 200 up there.
God, I like the best, right?
On the first trip, you could take you, Jess, and the personal guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are reliably incredible troops. Yeah, so I think that's what we'll do. We'll take those, and then we'll send back for, I think, the archers. So they come, when we get there, the ships go back, pick up our archers, bring them to us, and then the rest of the troops are for patrolling, because we want to leave the cavalry where they're useful, which is being mobile and patrolling and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're our second best force, but they wouldn't be as good if they weren't on their horses, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's as far as your father would be concerned, he would never want to waste the Swan Knights except on prepared territory for their conventional use.
Uh-huh.
I think the wealth of each is so much and the cost that they wouldn't. Yeah, It
Well,
wouldn't
the
be-
cavalry have mobility. Like if we're having a dude at every farmhouse, like post a cavalryman or in pairs or something, so they can ride down any would-be bandits. Maybe.
That's what I think too. And I think like the veteran cavalry are our knights. I think the personal guard are also like can be knights, but they're like knights, like landed knights almost. Like not. Do you know what I mean? Like.
I feel like they're more like this guy in the middle of the overlay rather than like they have horses to ride, but they're not going to fight on horses necessarily. They're not going to like do a heavy cavalry charge.
No, I think they're like
get off and fight with shields.
I think phalanx sort of stuff. I mean, not that, but that sort of level of quality.
Yeah, I imagine them as like heavily armored spearmen who would normally take the place of a van in the conventional pitched battles.
They cost 1 more point than the cavalry do.
Yeah, they cost 1 less point than a warship. Like.
Yeah.
So 100 men in heavy arms supplied.
Like in Islaf, they'd be Oscars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think we'll take them and then send back for the archers, and then the rest of the troops can be used to like protect Page's lands along with their own troops.
And who's the company who'll be in Page lands? I imagine the cavalry is going to be networking.
I believe the garrison to be garrisoning Swansong, right? As I think that's what they always do. We could
garrisons that's like where they recruited.
Yeah, I guess we don't want to leave Swansong undefended.
Yeah, even with the
have Swansong be raided PR wise while your armies are all out conquering.
Yeah.
So then infantry, archers, and cavalry will go with you guys, and the peasants that we're raising.
So no one
go
to Riverthorn.
Yeah, I'll go to Riverthorn with Jess and the personal guard, and then the archers.
Okay.
And then we just send the infantry to...
To where?
Redden Hall?
Yeah, and the cavalry and the peasants that we're raising.
The garrison will stay and keep law in Grayle lands.
The garrison, will stay to keep law. And protect the castle.
And Willem and Oster are coordinating from Redden Hall?
Yes.
With half of the army while you're up in Riverthorn with Jess?
Yeah.
And you will use the ships to coordinate with them, and they can use ravens to coordinate with Maester Grubrook and whoever else is kind of pseudo-ruling in Swansong.
Yeah, actually, I wonder, is it better to bring Oster with us so he can do Ravenry from Riverthorn? For communication purposes, because otherwise we won't be able to communicate.
True.
There's not a Maester there, I can't imagine.
No, not for some years, not for half a decade at least.
Yeah.
Also, too, put Jess, to keep it 50-50, could put Jess in the south with Willem to do the exact same thing that she would be doing in Riverthorn, but it would just be into the southern Duranes forest rather than the northern parts. Or keep her with you. There's no rule that means that the party needs to be evenly split. But
well, I think the thing about Riverthorn is we're just protecting that place. We're not going out from it yet. So I think it's better to have Jess down the south actually, where she can maybe follow them and see where they're coming from and that kind of thing. And I'll take Oster so he can do the Ravenry, because that's actually essential. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, because Redden Hall, they've got their own Maester. Yeah. He can take correspondences.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ferris to Grubrook to Oster, like a triangle.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, I think that's the
also
plan.
means that you can use Oster for ravens dynamically once you're in the field, in case you need to negotiate with other houses swiftly.
Yep. Yeah.
So the plan would be you go up to Riverthorn with Oster and the personal guard, and then you just camp out there, send a raven saying that you've got it, and Willem and Jess just hold tight in Redden Hall. I guess at that point, Lord Page would be willing to give the 100.
No, Riverthorn doesn't threaten Page.
He wanted only the other two.
So I think.
Do you want to stay in Riverthorn?
The plan that, as I see it, is we take Riverthorn and we control the food flow from Page's lands, and they start to get really panicked because they don't have any food. You know.
Mm.
So I'll send the personal guard and the archers and myself and Oster up there, and we hold it and we fortify it as best we can, because I know it's already a keep, right? Like,
Yeah.
so we just do some repairs or whatever, and we prepare. That's why I want the archers, so that we can hold it better, you know.
Yeah.
And then like you in the south make sure that they're not getting any food from the page lands, right? And then they'll start to be in trouble pretty quickly, I think, and start to panic. And you know, it's like a long game. We have to wait to see what happens.
It'll be weeks though, right?
Yeah.
Like they'll just be hunting deer and shit in the forest,
Yep.
getting slowly hungry.
I don't think that's a problem though. You know?
You mean waiting weeks?
Yeah, I don't see a problem in like the less men we lose, the better. And like being slow about it is probably like the safest way to go. And we can afford to, you know.
Yeah. What about
but it's
us
not going to
getting?
affect our.
Huh?
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say having our men in the field that long is not going to affect our wealth in any way or our production.
Mercenary, so abstractly, no.
Mm-hmm.
Like the cost and upkeep on them is factored into the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why we were like, because we're all paying for them all the time. That's why I sent some of them to do farming and stuff. You know, we have this is a standing force, and I guess we're paying them campaigning or not. You know.
Yeah, like if we disbanded them all, we'd have shit tons of
Wealth,
money.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a slow plan, but I think that's a good idea. I mean, I might be wrong, but that's like my thought process is, if we start to starve them, then they start to get desperate, and then they start to desert, and then they fight each other. You know, because they'll be arguing about, we should go and fight Riverthorn, and someone will be like, no way, they have knights, we can't do that. They'll start arguing amongst themselves, and like I feel like our unity is one of the strongest things we have against them, because they don't have that in the same way, you know.
So Dugan's held up in Port Merrill, is that right?
No, he's in the keep in the woods.
Oh,
Yeah, Dugan the Red and Thalia Pem share Durane's Forest, and rule it together from Rutger's Hold, from the centre of Durane's Forest. And Port Merrill is ruled by a loose kind of council, like a mob, that are like a mimic of a conventional lordly house.
Is it worth considering just talking to the port?
I worry that we're gonna drown all our archers or something in a shitty boat sinking, you know, or get skirmished in the shallows there or something,
I mean,
you know.
just talking to them, like sending a raven or something to them and being like, "Do you want to chat to us about peace?" You know.
I mean, maybe we could go like keep the plan as normal, and then we send someone, or you know, go to talk to them. Then
yeah,
be like, look, we've liberated Riverthorn. We're rebuilding all the, you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah, because I know they're like.
I'm wondering if they ever leave Rutgers Hall and come to the port.
Oh, whoa, okay, so I'm just looking here a bit of information about Port Merrill based on what that peon Barrett would have been able to tell you. Their council has like a semi-coordinated defense, like, so they don't have active military operations, but when threatened, they have hired 5 warships: the Drunken Kraken, the Black Whale, the Sky Singer, the Wanderer, and the Iron Fist. That means if they've got veteran warship and that's their power cost, that means you guys have 5, not 2, warships.
Okay, we have 5.
Oh, okay.
So it means you can transport 250 men.
Perfect.
But yeah, it also means that they can counter that on the Blue Fork.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we don't want to go near them.
To sail right past them.
But they're not threatened yet, right? They're not gonna just have those guys there all the time.
No.
And it's not like
I mean,
go to them. They could muster it, but obviously if you're just steering on the other side and going up north and not threatening them, then you probably wouldn't have to worry about it.
Don't want to go near them.
But I should let it be known, because I'd overlooked how potent and versatile that makes them. They also have a garrison that's coordinated, like, and all of the like gangs and tribes and whatever that operate there have kind of like a tithe of men that goes to a centralized garrison, and that's like to keep law and to make sure that like a rival kind of criminal group doesn't come in and throw weight around in Port Merrill.
So is that where we think the like pirate forces are sailing out from to go to
They're like neutral ground defense port.
But are they attacking Tullison from there? Like, just
No, not from Port Marl. It's just that that's where river pirates go to when they're being chased or to go sell their wares or whatever. Yeah.
They're Tortuga, so to speak.
Lawless.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sound Tortuga-y.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, we don't want to go near them.
The Portmaster's name is Garrus, Robert Garrus.
Okay.
And he filled in the wake of the previous lords who died.
We want to avoid going near them as much as we can. We just want to sail past them. So, like, don't engage them in any sort of way. And then when we have Riverthorn, we can, like, send a message to be like, oi, how's it going? You hungry? Or whatever, you know? Like,
I feel like by then they will have definitely enlisted those pirates,
that's fine.
like have those warships there, and then you guys might be stuck at Riverthorn, not wanting to have a naval battle.
Yeah, we could just
on
walk
the
away,
river.
though. You know? Like, if they fight us on the land, we'll murder them.
Hmm.
They could try to starve you out though, like their ships could block. Well, not they could block you and force you into engaging their ships.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
If they see
Riverthorn feed like 250 men, or how many to take?
Yeah.
There?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're feeding the port and, like, the what do you call it? Rutgers.
So presumably they're going to blockade you means that they'll have to engage their ships, which means if you do win, it means Port Marl is defenseless by river, which is a big win for you guys. But
Which is what we need. Yeah.
you want them to engage, right? Like
Yeah.
you would rather fight their ships on the open fork than
Yep.
in their tributaries and harbour where their versatility can pwn you.
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
It still will mean like losses, you know, like if
Yeah.
a ship sinks, that means that crew and 50 men and that kind of power will go. But the win is a lot.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, burn one bridge at a time. And, like, because, I mean, like, it's going to, you know, a million things could happen. We don't know what will happen until we do it, I think, you know. So I would say, like,
Yeah.
if we send our ships up there with myself, the guard, the archers, and Oster, and some ravens and stuff, and we can bring supplies with us, first of all.
True. Yeah.
You know, definitely things like arrows and stuff like that, but then, and food. And then we send the ships home. I don't want the ships here, I don't think, because they could kill them, you know? Like,
I don't want the ships to get taken if they're
Yeah.
getting sailed back, skeleton crew or something, you know?
oh, I see what you
Would
mean.
you risk blocking Port Marl by ships? I think that's something like Eric Thorne or even Lord Page would suggest. Like if you're naval parity with them, it puts them in a real nasty position if you blockade them first.
Yeah, but I mean, parity is so unlikely to, or like too unlikely to end in a victory for us.
I don't know. I kind of think it would be good to take Merrill first.
Like, they're better at fighting on the sea than we are by a large margin, you know?
But if we just rock up there, they're not going to have all their mercenaries enlisted, ready to go.
Yeah, that's true. If we bring everyone, you mean? We can't, though. We can't bring everyone. Don't have enough ships.
No, I was
Can
thinking
we-
more like block where the Blue Fork starts.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that contains Port Marl and stimmies their supply while you're constricting the other two supplies.
How many ships do they have?
5 to your 5.
5
Shawnee has
Can we
like
use
6.
espionage to like burn their ships or anything like that? Is that
now
possible?
we're talking.
Sure you could.
Yeah,
Now
now we're sucking diesel. All right. Yeah, that's a way better plan. Why don't we...
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, I'm worried that if we sail ships up, okay. First, do they communicate? All three areas, do they communicate?
Well,
Like,
Maril is
they
not...
may not stop us, but if they see a big like low drafting ship floating upriver, they may be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, where are they going?" You know,
Yeah.
they may be going to Riverthorn. You better, you know.
Uh-huh.
And you're gonna-
know that
you're gonna
Drain Corridor communicates with Port Marl.
Oh, okay. Well, all right then.
Barrow
Yeah.
intelligence such. That's where they fence their wares and barter for supplies and stuff. They kind of have a mutually beneficial arrangement where they don't do crime to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I got you.
Riverthorn's a
I
bit
think because
divorced
it's
from them.
Riverthorn's what, sorry?
Like a bit sort of divorced from them, like a sort of separate entity.
Yeah, it's just like a place that's getting extorted by Rutgers Hold.
Okay.
since it is semi-legitimate, I think it's an easy target to infiltrate spies.
Yes.
So I
Is it-
think a plan that would be that we like, even if we burn 2 ships,
We could
then
just-
then it swings in our favor.
We'll absolutely penis them in the ear if we manage to destroy like any of their ships, because like currently we're 50-50 with them. Even if we get one ship over them, I think we have a real chance of smashing them, you know? Because we have better troops, like, they're still going to be able to fight on a ship if we do it like Vikings, like stand on the ship and fight them as if we're on the land, you know? That's what I mean, I can't, like, we don't have cannons or anything, you know, so it's not like...
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, if that's... So why don't I... Oh, yeah, we want to wait then to go to Riverthorn, hey?
Well, shit will maybe hit the fan once we get to Riverthorn. Maybe we should try to infiltrate the port first.
Yeah,
Get info.
So my gut says that we send Oster and Jess to do that, but I'm so wary.
Me too, but then...
But
I'm not going to send myself.
Well, hopefully
I'm
they're
going to
okay.
send my proxy to go do that.
yeah, but then our chances of success are way lessened. Like a player character is capable of doing things that no NPC ever can, you know?
That's true.
Like, just to speak meta for a second, like if you send a guy, he's probably not going to make it, you know? He's going to die or...
Wash up at Redden Hall.
Yeah, you know?
What's the intent? What's the intent for these people we're sending to the port?
Burn...
To learn
Well, first
information and to
gather
sabotage.
information.
Yeah, sabotage.
Or learn their factions.
sabotage,
We may be able to, if they're a faction council, then we may be able to like divide a wedge between them
Yeah, there might be
and gain allies.
there might be some people on that council that would like to be legitimate, you know?
Yeah. What about if you guys sent the force up to Riverthorn, seized it, and then sent infiltrators led by Jess south through the woods to Port Marrow that way,
Yeah.
to then infiltrate / sabotage them while constricting Durain's forest of food from north at Riverthorn and south under Willem at Redden Hall,
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
and then act upon the information you gather in Port Marrow to determine when you'll employ your navy against them if you do.
Yes.
It seems powerful. Do everything at once, just about.
Yeah.
Well, you seize all the initiative then on land and at sea,
Yeah.
whereas if you do things incrementally, then you risk losing initiative on one or more systems. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that
sure.
seems like a good plan to me.
With some of the people that we sort of liberate from Riverthorn, right?
You might learn more of that region, yeah.
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 So is it that Jess, Oster and Ronald will set sail on the warships laden down with troops headed for Riverthorn, while Willem rides out to ferry across Paleford to reinforce Redden Hall?
Yeah. Sorry, Willem.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, I'll stay back in like safety of Hall.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best plan, yeah. I'll take my Lord's Ring and I'll press it into the wax and hammer it home.
Yeah, so with the montage and battle music playing, the camera will pan out from the Ruerlands as your house seizes into activity, and we'll find out what comes of that next session when we invade Riverthorn at Durange Forest and Port Marrow.
Sounds good.
Awesome.